Oh, wrong thing.
Be sure to make sure we are COPPA compliant. YouTube.
Yeah, I already said, like, yeah, this isn't a show for children. We should be live. Let me check the audio. This isn't a show for children.
Audio.
We should be live. Let me check the audio. This isn't a show for children.
Audio.
Alright, we should be good.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green Factory.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it? Whether we're young or old.
Here comes the candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Green Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andres.
Say Andres.
Andres.
Oh.
Andrew in Spanish.
Is that Spanish?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking about something. Actually, I was thinking about a couple of things over the past about terrible songs.
Oh.
So what's that one? Well, I don't know if it's a terrible song, but I was thinking about it. It seems stupid, and somebody has probably already obviously came up with this idea. But remember that one Offspring song where there's like a partner who goes like uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, cinco, seis. It's like, how boring would that be? Like or how boring would that be for somebody who's a Spanish speaker to listen to? It just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I was never really a big fan of that song anyway, but yeah, that'd be really.
I mean, it's fine. It's a catchy song, but I don't. It's so. But I was just like that caught me as being randomly stupid.
Yeah. The Offspring.
But I mean, it's a good. I mean, it rhymes. It's like it has a beat to it. You know, it works. It just doesn't make sense. But that's the thing about music is it doesn't actually have to make sense. So.
No.
And then the other thing I was thinking about, like, what a terrible song. You know that one song was like, I like that old time rock and roll, the kind of music that just soothes the soul.
Bob Seger's. Yeah.
What a terrible song. To just like put down all music currently, but then like he talks about like I like that old time rock and roll, but the song he's currently singing is also not the old time rock and roll. That song does not soothe the soul. He's also part of the problem he's explaining about.
That's part of the duality of mankind. Yeah, I don't know. That is, yeah, that's Bob Seger.
Is he a terrible person? I don't know.
No, I don't know. He lives around here.
Okay.
So he's, what was the thing I learned about him? I don't know. He hangs out. I mean, I've never seen him, but I know he lives around here. He's older now. I don't think he's actively producing music. He still goes and tours.
Yeah.
That giant
Goes on. Yeah, those nostalgia tours.
Yep. Well, the only people that have money now are the people that were young when he was a new band, and they're the only people that can afford it.
Yeah, I mean, like I think
Rolling Stones tour. You know,
yeah, those are like the number one concerts every year because it's like $200 for a shitty ticket, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you got 6,000 people to spend $200 on a shitty ticket.
Really heroin for days, months, years.
There's still that Pink Floyd tour that goes around. I want to see it, but I think there's only one guy from the original band in it because it's called like That Dude's Name, The Wall. It's like That Dude's Name Presents The Wall or something like that.
Gilmore or Roger Waters.
Yes.
Roger Waters, yeah. David Gilmour sold like a bunch of his guitars for like $75 million. It was something crazy. He just gave it all away to charity.
Huh.
It's like, I just didn't want these things around the house anymore. You know. But he's also, I think he's the guy who gets the choice when Ferrari comes out with a new car.
Okay, yeah.
One of the people that gets called first. Like you can have this like 6 months before anyone else. 'Cause
Not as a present. He's just the first one that can purchase it, right?
the first one, $1 million supercar. A collection of.
Yeah, because that's like the weird thing. You think, like a lot of those high end things, you think like, oh, if you just have the money, you can go there and purchase. It's like, no, they have like a clientele list of people who can purchase their fucking cars.
A curated list.
Hey, if it works for him and keeps him in business. Then
Yeah, well, and obviously there seems to be an aftermarket, so
Oh, yeah.
doesn't seem to be coming. But
And
yeah.
there's an aftermarket of people that just buy like half broken Ferraris
Yeah.
because they're so expensive to repair that they're like,
Oh, yeah.
I got a Ferrari, everybody. For buying
Jay Leno, he'll buy stuff that's completely trash. Like, let's rebuild it.
Yeah, I knew a guy. He had like a Porsche 911. Like, got it for a steal, but like he was like, like it just sat in his garage. Like, oh, there's no way I can repair this for a reasonable cost.
What was somebody selling around here that it was like, I didn't know the guy, but it was a Porsche 935. Those were the weird ones. I forget what the deal was. Were those front wheel drive or- There was something strange about them. I don't remember what it is now.
Yeah.
But in the 70s, they were like, that was a supercar. It was not as expensive one, but it was a very powerful car for that time period. And someone was selling one around here. It was like rust-free body, which is virtually impossible to find in Michigan. But engine didn't run, and he listed all the problems with it. He wanted like $3,000 for it. I was like, oh, the paint was shot. I was like, that's almost doable. But then you go look at like repairing a Porsche 935, even as a hobbyist. It's like, oh, you'll be $10,000 into this thing, and that's doing the majority of the work yourself.
Yeah.
Which
means incorrectly.
yeah, it would be very difficult. It's like, yeah, it'd be cool to have that old, because those are kind of neat looking cars. They have the inset headlights that wrap around the bubble rear end. But yeah,
It's weird how much performance they're able to get out of what is essentially the same body shape for the last 50 years.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, they're a boutique automaker. I mean, really.
Yeah, but they just a Porsche 911 always looks like a fucking Porsche 911.
It's the 1960s. It's basically the same thing.
Because I remember they had like that one on. They had the Grand Tour. They had like that hybrid one on it, which was like really cool. Like like the performance lies and like sort of the like options on it. Like, oh, that seems fucking cool. Like if I was, had fuck all money, I'd pick up that one.
Yeah.
So I could get more miles to gallon for my supercar. But like but it still just looked like a Porsche. Like there wasn't anything extra interesting about it.
Nope. It's just really fast and costs $600,000.
Did either of you guys see any of the new Conan interviews with like Dax Shepard and Christian Bell?
No. How recent is this?
Well,
I haven't watched Conan for like 3 years.
Well, no.
Because aren't they now on like a half-hour show format?
I think so.
Have you seen it recently?
I haven't seen it.
I only see him on like YouTube clips or where he does the gamer stuff.
It's all YouTube clips for me because I don't have TBS. I don't have access to it. So.
Or actually, the last time I saw him was in Death Stranding, but I'll get to that later.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because that was part of the. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a joke. He's in the fucking game.
All right, so Dax Shepard, like supposedly he's really into cars and bikes, monsters.
Oh yeah, he's super into bikes.
But
that's the reason he made that Chips movie.
Yeah. And he actually he's been teaching his daughter since she was 3 to ride a bike, so that way when she gets to be a teenager, she doesn't have to suffer at some hands of some teenager that doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle, and she can actually drive herself safely instead of relying upon an idiot teenager to do it and probably hurting her, which I thought was pretty cool. I learned that during the Christian Bell and like Kevin Nealon go on a hike or whatever during a video, because that was something they put out recently. Since all this Frozen 2 bullshit, so she's been promoting the hell out of that. But Dax Shepard came on to promote Frozen 2 also because he was joking. He was like, well, in California, everything's communal property, so I own half of her role in Frozen 2. So I figured I might as well get out and promote it. And he was like, yeah, okay. It was like, I tried to be in the movie, but they wouldn't let me in. But so then he explains his recent car project, which is a 1992 like GMC like wood paneled station wagon. He dropped like a fucking supercharged V8 into the fucking thing. And so he's like, yeah, that's,
Roadmaster.
yeah, Roadmaster.
Okay.
And so he's like, that's the best station wagon you could buy. That's hands down the best station wagon. That was the pinnacle of station wagons. He's like, that station wagon can do like 0 to 60 in like 2.9 seconds or whatever. And just like, after he just gets done telling him how him and his wife are like really big on the environment and like trying to help him, then Conan was like, well, apparently not that much. You got a V8 in the fucking Roadmaster or whatever. And so he was like, oh yeah, that's not. But he was like saying how much he needed to like, you know, rebuild that thing and like put the engine in it, and how much it's a passion project for him because it's such a great car and stuff. And I was like trying to figure out if he was bullshitting people or not, but apparently he's very serious that station wagon is like the pinnacle of car manufacturing for that.
People
brand.
love those in particular because that was the largest station wagon ever made. I think if you folded the seats down in the back, you had more room than a truck bed did at that time. Like, I knew people that had them. They're massive cars.
And
Caprice platform.
And that's like a whole subsection of people like sleeper cars.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you go to a drag race and it's like someone's in a station wagon and the other guy's in a Corvette. It's like obviously the Corvette's gonna win. Fuck no.
It's like David Letterman's Volvo that Howard Newman built for him with like a supercharger, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
That was on the Comedians with Cars. That's a station wagon.
Well, I mean, I know as long as you have the room for it and you put the work in and stuff, you can practically make any car a lot better than it actually is with the plant that originally came with it. But at the same time, it just reminds me of that video that you showed me where it's like Dubai or something, and there's like this fucking Ferrari or some supercar, and like this Jeep.
Bugatti.
Yeah, like a Jeep pulls up next to it, and then the Jeep smokes.
Oh,
the
it was
Bugatti.
like an Isuzu Trooper.
Yeah, and the Jeep like fucking totally smokes
Yes.
the supercar. Like, and so it's like, wow.
Fuck what they put in that thing.
It's like I'm sure aftermarket parts and doing the work on the you know the Jeep or the you know the silent car or the sleeper car was just about.
It was an SUV essentially, or a truck-based SUV. So, but yeah, they put something amazing in it. But it was also Dubai, so they probably had the money. They threw $3 million into the inside of that engine compartment.
My favorite story about cars was remember that weird movie, George Lucas's like first movie, THX 1138.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the car chase scene in that?
Yeah.
Okay, those were like real race cars from the late 70s. And in order to film those, because this was, I mean, it started off as a student film, but then it got a lot more money put into it. But those were like Lola Mark 7, like, I forget what kind of cars they were. I think they were Daytona cars. And they were running them down the unused subway system, the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, and they were filming those scenes. But in the movie, they edited the sound out and they put in like jet engine sounds. It was supposed to be a jet car, but it was a real race car with no mufflers. And they were driving it down those tunnels, and the crew was having to stuff like, you know, paper and anything they could in their ears because it was cacophonously loud to drive a full-on race car up and down an abandoned what was it?
Subway
like
tunnel.
Subway tunnel. And the people were calling the police all the time. And it sounded like all hell was breaking loose. And but yeah, those cars kept overheating and stuff because how they shot that was they just ran them up one side, ran them back down, but they shot it differently so it looked like it was a continuous scene. And what was I going to say about that? It was just,
Didn't they wreck one of them? Because like Robert Duvall was actually driving it or something.
yeah, one of them got wrecked. It wasn't by him. It was one of them. Because they got those were loaned to him by someone. And but yeah, it's amazing like when people get a hold of cars like that, just how destructive and powerful they are. And they're not meant to be driven, you know, 50 miles an hour. But they can do weird things with cars. Especially in places like Dubai and Saudi Arabia, that's kind of like a tradition. because they'll build these desert running cars that just have, you know, like 1,000 horsepower cars and stuff, or SUVs.
I like some of the shit they had like a Ford had like a separate like Australian division that made cars that they've made nowhere else.
Yeah.
Because there
Australia.
was like I don't think it's still around, but
No.
because like there they don't have a Mustang. What's it called there? It's the Ford. Is it the Falcon? Is it Ford Falcon?
Falcon XB is the Mustang. That's what the Road Warriors car was.
Yeah.
Falcon X essentially is a Mustang.
But that was really popular in Australia, so they just keep calling it the Falcon there, but it's the Mustang everywhere else. Or I think mostly everywhere else. But they made a fucking El Camino. It was a Ford El Camino. Well, I mean, it wasn't called that, but that's what it was. It was like a car with a truck bed in the back of it. And it was just in Australia. And also because of Australia, like, all the gas tanks are, like, extra big. Because, like...
if you have to go across the barren wasteland of
Yeah.
the continent. With like suspect roads sometimes. Like I think I'd want an extra large gas tank along.
Australia through the 50s and to the 90s was the only other country in the world really that had a hot rod culture like we. Because they would modify it. They didn't have any emissions laws over there. They didn't there was no one there. But you polluted. Yeah, they liked almost every car they had over there for a long time had just big giant V8 engines. Even cars that you wouldn't think would. It's like, yeah, let's put a V8 in this van. Put a blower on it. Why not? I like their semi-delivery trucks. I remember they had a reality show for the giant Australian semi-trucks.
Was that where it's basically just a land train?
Yeah, and they have like big bush bars on the front. Because they're either to knock kangaroos out of the way or going down roads that aren't paved. Deliver food to obscure places, medicine.
Run into one of those weird sandstorms that just looks like the apocalypse is happening.
Yeah, it's Australia. And because I watched a few episodes of the show, I thought it would be interesting, but it just turned out to be the Australian version of the same out-of-control rednecks that inhabit reality television here. And it's like, oh, okay, this suddenly isn't it? Just depressing. It's just like, oh, great, more hillbillies just with Australian accents. Just terrible people, completely uninteresting. You know their whole story. Just 5-minute conversation like, yep, I know where this is going. Speaking of which, I had to go to Harbor Freight Friday to pick up some stuff model building. I always enjoy my trips to Harbor Freight because I get to see like the grip of the opioid crisis in America just play out in the store and just the full-on mental illness that's on display if people just walk through there and look at stuff, never buy anything. I don't know what they're doing. They're all I mean, I bought like 10 things. It was like $9. So, it's, but I'm not using these to, it's not an engine hoist that my life depends on. I'm going to be working under it. It's just stuff for building houses. Yeah, I like to go to Harbor Freight. Just take in the scenery. Crazy. And it's also in a bad part of town, so you're dealing with that, too.
Yeah, ours is just half of the old Target in Cedar Rapids, so... Or not even half, I don't think. Like a third of the old Target. And I wouldn't say, like, the best people go there either, but at the same time, I don't think it's as objectively depressing as yours sounds like it.
Oh, no, mine is, you get the mentally ill people that want to come up and talk to you. Like, hey, what are you looking at? Clamps. Oh, yeah, and then they have a story. Something they built or something they did. They want to tell you all about it. And just listen. It's like, okay. Hope this doesn't end with me getting stabbed in the ear with an ice pick or something.
If I want, like, weird mentally ill or just weird people conversations, I go to Walmart. Like, that's the place to go here. It's not... It's not because that's where all those people go, but you can find a decent collection of them. I just was talking about this the other day, I think last weekend when I was visiting my sister and stuff, where I was like, yeah, have you ever been to Walmart and just pick up a can of beans and somebody just says those Mexicans or whatever from behind you, and you have like a 2-minute conversation with a guy that actually isn't bashing Mexicans but likes Mexicans, and this was his way of saying, of saying it by me picking up a can of beans for chili or whatever.
He's just waiting there for 5 minutes, like, my opening. I'm gonna make a friend today.
And I was like, yeah, it was nice to learn that somebody didn't hate Mexicans that lives here. And I don't think there's a lot of people that hate Mexicans, but it's nice to have somebody verbally say they don't, but in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah, I was gonna say usually a conversation that opens with that gambit is gonna probably end in Holocaust denial, or they're gonna tell you something about QAnon. So that was unusual that it didn't go that way.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I was braced for the.
I'm pro-Mexican, but I'm anti-vax. Like, okay.
Because you can't even get people to say more than 2 words sometimes. Like, they'll run into you full blow, and they won't even say sorry. Because my mom was talking about, I guess her and my grandma and her sister were at Walmart. They ran into each other, and the first time my aunt totally smashed the car in full blown, knocking my mom back or whatever. Nobody even batted an eye. And then my mom ran into him again in the grocery section. And she's like, "Get out of my way, old lady!" And a bunch of people got in the way between my mom and her mom, thinking my mom was gonna beat the shit out of her mom or whatever. And it was like, okay, so I see how this is. Regular people, violence fine. Violence against old people, not cool at Walmart. So yeah.
I also don't understand that kind of behavior where there's people they obviously know each other, but they'll ram their cart with their cart, and just have that panic for half a moment, oh, it was all just a joke. It's when was this fun?
Yeah.
And who's this fun for?
Oh, is life and death about to hang in the balance? Oh no, it's a joke. Tee-hee. Certainly glad that happened.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever seen it the other way, where somebody literally does it to be a dick and they get in a fight.
What? What are you gonna do about it? There's a cop at the front door. You want me to get him?
You can ask him. We used to know this guy in Indiana. He would see you in public, and he did this with everyone. He'd be like, "Hey, cocksucker!" Really loud, just yelling it, and we would all kind of look at each other because everyone in the stores would walk into a restaurant. "Hey, cocksucker!" Who thinks this is funny? This guy did a lot of drugs, so he probably had a weird perception. But yeah, that's.
It's he thought it was funny, and that was the most important thing to him.
Looking at their grandmother uncomfortably, I don't know who this guy is. I don't suck his cock, so I don't know. But yeah, that was.
Man, that was his way of classifying people. I'm like, yep, he would definitely suck cock for drugs. He seems like that type of person.
He's just breaking it down. Who's my mark here? Well, how was Thanksgiving for you?
Fine.
My first one today was good.
Yeah, you're having 4 Thanksgivings.
No, I have one tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Okay, Matt. I think Matt has 4 Thanksgivings.
Oh, okay. He must have already had most of them then.
So you had 2 with your family, and then he has 2 with his wife's family or whatever.
I always forget that it's 2 with his wife's family because her mom and dad are still together. So I'm like, why the fuck is there 2 Thanksgivings for them? There's no divorce side of the family to go to like our side where you have to do the mom and the dad side.
Oh, maybe it's the ex-husband or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
The hard side holiday.
But no, it'll be interesting tomorrow, especially if it snows overnight. It'll be really interesting getting to my sister's house, but we'll see. Now that she lives out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Ish.
See, I had a birthday too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was November.
So I didn't send you anything. So Disney Plus was your birthday present.
Thank you.
I'll be canceling as soon as the Mandalorian's over with.
Let me know before you do so I can get those last.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Jeff Goldblum show is pretty shit, and
I watched The Black Hole for just old times.
Okay.
no.
Yeah, this is as terrible as I knew it would be, but but I also got a gift from my wife. I got a Kindle Paperwhite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because I wanted one for a while, because my other one, the battery's just not holding the charge like it used to.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's pretty old too. It's old. For older. And
What?
I use It was in weekly rotation.
What's the? Well, this has like a more natural screen or something.
Yeah. This is the other one I had was a Kindle Fire.
Yeah.
It was like the first generation Kindle Fire. where
Oh,
this
so
had-
that was just a tablet. This is the actual like
this
Kindle.
was an actual reader. Yeah.
Okay. With the e-ink screen or whatever they're on now.
This is the e-ink, and it's also backlit, so it's internally lit, so you don't have to have a light source.
Yeah.
Which has been around for a while. But this was considered the best one.
I think was it the most absurd feature of this? That you can just like you can throw it in the water like.
Well, water resistant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put it.
I think there's a picture of like someone reading in the bathtub, and it's like read in the bathtub.
Yeah, you could do that. There's, there's only a micro USB port, and that's it. There's no if you want to have it read the books to you, you got to use a Bluetooth connection.
Oh, do they still have that in there?
Yeah, you got to buy the book. But
Oh, the Audible book.
yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't just read the book to you.
No, so old ones used to do that,
Yeah, mine will do that. My old one. It was a long time.
but as soon as like they made the thing where you could just like is that Wisp? It's one of them where you can just like you could read in the book, and I think you like paid an extra $4. You got the book and the audiobook. And where you're reading in your book, if you want to pick up the audiobook, it would go right to the spot where you are in the book. And you could just pick up from there and switch on. I don't think I'd ever do that. Like if I'm gonna read a book, it's gonna be either I'm gonna read the book or I'm gonna listen to the book. I'm not gonna do a combination. Although
Maybe you just feel lazy one day and you're like, read me the book, Alexa.
I don't know, maybe that'd be an interesting way to. That'd be a different. I feel like I would. It's a different way of like incorporating the information. So I think I'd like get, discombobulated or whatever the word is, or disoriented doing both. But I never
Well,
tried it. But
The Kindle, the old one I have, it did voice to text, or it did text to voice. You didn't have to buy
yeah,
audiobook. It would but it read it in a weird stilted.
yeah.
voice.
It was it's a computer reading of it.
Oh, she said. Hit me hard. None of the
But-
natural rhythm.
But like what I used it for a lot is like I could I could write stuff.
Yeah.
And then I could like mail it to myself through whatever, and to the Amazon book format,
Yeah.
and then I could have it read it back to me,
Yeah.
and then I'd like find mistakes when it did. I mean, it was robotic, so it was, it's like I didn't pick up on the voice I was incorporating in I was writing, but I did find like lots of mistakes. It's like, oh, this is good for that, but then they just fucking got rid of it, and it's not like and so like old. So you can it'll read anything as long as it's in this format. And so even all the old Kindles will do this, but after one point, like they've never done it again because they want to sell you audiobooks. So, anyways,
It made me
anyways,
think about my wife wants those Bose sunglasses that are also like Bluetooth speakers because she thinks it's the coolest thing ever, and she was like would wear it all the time. I'm like, well, not during the fucking winter you won't, or at night, or any of the. But then I was like, wait, I looked at my Best Buy, didn't even say fucking waterproof on it because I'm assuming if she got caught in a rainstorm and got wet, it would just.
Oh, is that those Bose ones?
Yeah.
They look like sunglasses.
Yeah.
Now the problem is everyone else can hear what you're listening to. And see, the stuff I listen to is so horrible and inappropriate. I just look at people in the sunglasses like, yeah. Can't imagine listening to Ministry.
I wear my sunglasses at night so I can
I just rather buy
listen
like,
to
really,
Joe Rogan.
I just really rather buy like nice in-earpiece ones for her, but she wants those for some fucking reason. Even though I'm still trying to figure out when the hell she would actually wear them, because she just makes it sound like she can like go shopping and listen to that, or like basically drive and listen to
You
that.
can do that with the free earbuds that come with your phone. too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, why is that different than the?
I don't know, sometimes you just get a thing in your head where it's like, oh, this will fix my life, and then you spend way too much money on something that you'll never use ever again. Like, damn it didn't fix my life.
That's more of my. I mean, I'm willing to spend any kind of money she wants on something that's reasonable, but no, at the same time.
Speaking of which, I broke in the snowblower engine.
Oh, okay.
Winter night, me and Grayson. There was no snow.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, like, did it snow? Or...
No, you just start it and let it run for 15 minutes. And then, so there's all kinds of stuff when an engine's first made. So you let it run for like 15 minutes, and then you put it up on a block, and you're supposed to hold the handle down, let the auger run, get all that lubricated. But I just put a zip tie around it and let me and Grayson watch the auger run. It's like, don't ever stick your hand in there. And I was standing by the discharge chute, and the discharge auger was blowing so hard it felt like a fan running. and then after you do that a while, you go out and put it in all its gears and make sure everything's right. Grayson was like, I want to try this in 6. He's like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, he put the throttle down. He was like running after it. Oh my God. I said, yeah, I don't know who's going to clear snow at 6. I mean, maybe some people really need to get it done, but yeah, so I went and played around with that. It's the Aaron's guarantees it starts on the second pull, brand new, and it did. I didn't have to mess with it any. But I did find an ethanol-free gas station. I found a Mobil, and I put Mobil Super Plus in it. I got 3 gallons. It was $17. It's like, well, I don't think the thing's going to run through gas that quick, because I said, I'm not doing this again. I'm just doing this for the break-in. I can't imagine people filling their car up with shit like that. Like, that would cost me like $65 to fill my car up with that gas. But yeah, I guess some people love spending money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because around here it's all ethanol or nothing. I don't know if there's any.
I believe premium is not ethanol.
Yeah.
But like,
Be ethanol free.
but it's like I never have a car that's like requires premium or that's even like really a choice. I think like if you look in the instruction manual, like most cars that I've ever had, it always recommends like 89 octane, which I think only like BP actually has 89 octane at their gas tank. Otherwise, like, and I heard this on an episode of Car Talk when they used to have that, like, and somebody's like, well, how the fuck do I get 89 octane? It's like, well, you see how one says 88 and the other one's 91? Just put half of one and half of the other. It's like, does that work? He's like, yeah, sure, why not?
All the cars I've owned the last 10 years, even my turbocharged one, it says right on the cap, it's like 87 octane all the way.
Oh, okay.
No more than 10% ethanol. And the only problem with ethanol, what I found through research about this, if you're running a car or something that's in use all the time, it doesn't matter if it has ethanol in it. But with like lawn equipment, you don't want to, because that's just going to sit in there and rot, and it's going to eat the seals out of your carburetors and stuff. That's why ethanol is bad if it's an engine that sits a lot. Because like my snowblower, like that's not going to see more than 20 hours of service a year unless something weird happens. But even then, it's like, but there's chemicals there's enzymes you can put in it. There's chemical additives that just will dissipate the ethanol. It'll just burn it off really quick, so that you can store. Because I've stored and wintered many lawnmowers and snowblowers and power sprayers. I've never fucked up the carburetor. And even if I did, it's like the one I gave Dad. Someone gave me that for free. It's like it won't start. Well, they left it sitting for 6 years in the garage and never put gas in it, except what was in the tank. And so it's like, yeah, the carburetor's ruined. So for $12, I got a carburetor rebuild kit. Guess what? The snowblower started on the third pull. It's a miracle. Yeah, I don't know. I've never owned cars that have a premium fuel requirement. I don't think there's many American cars that do. Maybe some of your special edition sports cars, but
Yeah, I imagine it's just sports cars.
now a lot of European cars have that requirement.
Well, it's just something where what cars are people buying that have E85 gas restrictions on them? Because I can't even run my brand new fucking car. I can't even put E85 in my fucking
I think
Oh,
that's all Chevy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, those are special engines. Yeah, they have a badge on them. They'll say Flex Fuel was the old badge. I forget what the new one. They moved away from it because the only difference between that and a regular engine is a lot more stainless steel in there, so the stuff doesn't accumulate. But the problem is with those E85 engines, if you can run that, is like that ethanol gas is really cheap, but the mileage is horrible in those. It's like, because a Chevy pickup that was flex fuel, if you ran normal gas in it, it got about 18, 17 miles to the gallon. If you ran pure 85, it got like 12 or 10. So it's like, well, the gas is a little cheaper. It's got a lot more blend in it, but you're burning it up twice as fast. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of a wash. Because I remember when that all started, there was only a handful of companies that bought into it. No one else made. I think Ford made one flex fuel heavy duty work truck. They made it for 2 years, and they're like, nope, we're not selling it.
And I think Chevy did it like fleet wide or something like that.
Yeah, Chevy made a lot of the flex fuel stuff, and you don't see any of
What
it.
was that? Or was that when they were like, you know, like half owned by the government? Did they mandate that or something?
Oh, that's one of the things that led them to being
Oh, okay.
stupid shit like that. And hydrogen fuel cells. That was a big General Motors thing. It's like, we're gonna have hydro stations. It's like, yeah, there's a video you should watch from the 20s or the 30s, Hindenburg. It's like, yeah, let's just ride around on a hydrogen fuel cell and just play that on loop. Oh, the humanity. That's exactly what's going to happen. You notice that vaporized. You don't hear about that anymore. The Volt was another thing that was like, great idea. Even had decent execution and follow throughs. Nobody wanted them.
Well, it's like it's like a real edge case where you get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to be, because I think like once you drove over like 40 miles an hour, like then you like the electric engine kicked off and like you were just using the gas engine.
Yeah.
And so like you'd have to be just city driving to make use of that thing, really.
Yeah. The later ones had more options. But, you know, because my brother-in-law had one. We went for a drive in it. It just like beat the shit out of me. Like, why does this car ride so rough? It's like, oh, it weighs as much as a truck. Batteries. And it was, you know, I mean, they got great mileage out of it.
Because like technically it would have been a car that torque for me, because like I have like 8 minutes, an 8-minute drive to work, and it's supposed to be at the most 35 miles an hour, although some people treat it like a fucking highway.
Yeah.
And luckily there's always, what's that?
35 to 75, depending on.
Yeah. And there's always cops posted up there, but people are like, no, I need to do 50. Because, you know, I'm late for my drugs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta go do something important at 6 p.m. in Cedar Rapids Sunday. It's like this life or death.
But there's always cops posted on like either side of the bridge that goes over the train tracks.
Yeah.
And like it's like, hey, don't try to pass me. Don't try to speed me up. I'm saving you money. But like no. But there's only one time where like somebody was a real fucking asshole and like. Because there's like a part where it's like it's 2 lanes, but like it'll feed into one at some point, and that's where like all the madness comes in. It's like, no, why am I stuck behind you? And then they'll just like go by you really fast, and then you know some guy got mad that he had to only do 40 miles an hour, do 5 over, because like cops usually not gonna pull you over for doing 5 over the speed limit, and so he starts to do like I'm gonna do 20 to angrily speed past me, and then a cop just immediately pulls him over. It's like I get to do the Nelson laugh from this, like ha ha.
See, I've always gone over that bridge too fast. I've never been caught yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the cops always hide on the bottoms of the hill.
Yeah,
so that when you don't see them until you're driving the fastest as you're going over the hill. So that's where they hide.
Well, apparently I picked the right times of day or something.
Well, yeah, they're not there all the time, but they're there.
No, I know.
A lot of the
I know
times.
they're there. I've seen them multiple times. Usually when I'm coming the right way, so I'm like, oh, there's the cop for that way. Like, so I'm assuming there's a cop down the other way to catch me.
There's 2. There's one. They'll park in that one area where it's like an incomplete road, where it's like it seems like there's supposed to be a house that's going to be built there. So they hide there, and then they hide at the go-kart place.
Yeah.
That's the other place they hide on the other end.
Well, and then on the other side, if you go on Wilson Avenue, because I use that more times than anything, they usually hide at the Cryovac.
Yeah.
Or they hide in my parking lot. Like, they've started doing that more recently. It's like, so apparently Cryovac wasn't working out for them anymore or something. Like, Like, the only thing differentiates between that is it's higher up the hill and the fence kind of, like, obscures them a little bit. But they can't also see people because it's over that hill, too, so I don't know.
But still, I don't know why people need to go 50.
I don't know why either. I just catch myself doing it because a newer car and easier to accelerate.
Yeah, I was driving my parents' car down that road, and I was like, kind of driving the same way I drive my car. And, you know, I was like basically applying the same pressure. I was like, oh shit, I'm going 45. It does not feel like I'm going 45.
Yeah, that's why I catch
I guess
myself
that's what a
doing it.
good suspension feels like, is it doesn't feel like you're driving the car.
That's why I always speed my Subaru. Not because I intentionally speed. I just like, oh fuck, I'm going like 70 down to 55 because it feels like I'm going 55. Okay.
See, here 2 days ago on a road near me called Martz Road, they had a multi-vehicle accident with fatalities because we had a lot of high wind and a tree fell across the road. You hear that and you're like, there's a giant tree? Like did a mighty oak fall across the road?
A redwood grew in Michigan and fell over.
Did this thing weigh as much as a rhinoceros? No, it was a really small tree, but people were going 72 miles an hour. And they came on a country road, not, you know, I mean, it's a paved road. But then they came around a corner and saw this tree, and the lady freaked out and slammed on her brakes, and the person coming behind her T-boned her, killed her, killed a passenger in that car. I mean, it was on the news, because then other cars came around the corner and crashed into them. No one else died, but people got hurt. And it's like, what the hell? Because you hear that, and it's like, oh, a tree fell down, led to multi-car fatalities. And it's like, well, not really. If someone had been driving, because the speed limit on country roads around here is 50. And it's like, well, if someone had been driving the speed limit, they might have been surprised, but they could have easily evaded that because it was only across one lane. But no, because people were driving like as fast as they could. But that's how people drive on like county lane roads around here. I've had many people just cut around me angrily. It's like I'm going it's 50 and the road's like, you know, it's a Michigan road. It's got like giant chuck holes around wildlife and, you know, the deer carcass that's in the splattered all over the road, and people are just like barreling past me in their, Pontiac or their Chevy Cavalier, which they haven't made in 20 years. They're just this thing's screaming like a World War I fighter plane. Like, where are you going? And 2 minutes later, you'll see him at the liquor store. Like, oh, that's where we had
the one I'm always surprised by is like the what was Pontiac's minivan?
Oh, the one that looked like a dustbuster.
Yeah, it's something AM. I can't remember what it was called. Or
yeah, what was that? Transit? No, what was that?
It was Pontiac Transit, but it'd be like one of those. Which again, they haven't made those in 20 years, and it's just like somebody angrily barreling past me, and it's like they clearly have a whole family of people in there just waiting to die.
They're driving
those seats down that are up on pillars, they're probably almost rusted through at this point. Like one sharp turn and a toddler could get thrown through the glass of a sliding door. But they got to get to wherever it is they're going. Some of these cars I see on 94 in the morning, you know, and my car's pretty well equipped. Like I could easily drive 120 miles an hour if I had the right tires and conditions with no fear.
Yeah, you got like a turbocharger and all-wheel drive. You can do anything with that car.
I got big sticky tires that hold the road no matter what. But I drive about 75, 85. You know, I go with the flow, whatever the flow is. But I love the people that go roaring past me in like the 1996 Park Avenue, where like obviously 2 of the tires are bald and it's not quite tracking straight down the road, and they're just driving like they're in a madman. It's like, where could you possibly be going in your success mobile? Where the fuck are you going? And why? And I guarantee you don't have insurance on that goddamn thing. It's why I pay so much for it. But it's just like, Jesus H. Christ. It's not like I'm some pampered executive that doesn't matter when I show up for work. I just leave on time. I'm not like, well, it takes 38 minutes to get to the Rouge from my house. It's and shift starts at 6 a.m. So I'm gonna leave at 5:25, and I'll just make up the difference in raw speed. Not how you do it.
No, and that's where
Sometimes it's not always young people driving that way. I like it when I see the older people driving that way in cars like that. And it's like, well, I know you don't have the reflexes to whatever you're doing, you better hope it happens in a straight line, Grandpa, because you're not going to make it.
I'm guessing the one lady I work with in shipping where she does every day, it's always the same routine. She'll show up right at the last second before it hits 7 o'clock, and she'll hurriedly get to the first computer terminal she can find and clock in, and then she'll just walk as slowly as possible to her workstation and then put out all of her shit. And then 15 or 20 minutes into the shift, she finally starts work. And usually on overtime, so her $35 an hour, she's getting paid for her 40 minutes of work instead of her hour of work. And it's like, it's so nice that you could just waltz in the door at the last second and then get your paper and coffee and your pop and all this other shit squared away and talk to somebody for 10 minutes and then start work. And it's like, doesn't matter if it's nice out or shitty out, it's always the exact same pattern. Always the last fucking second. And it's like, how the fuck would you want to live your life this way?
Well, I mean, it's her job. It's not her life.
It's like
Well, we have sometimes we have people that are the opposite of that on the night crew that come in, because you'll see these people because my shift ends at 4:30 p.m. Their shift starts at I think it's 6. So there's that's like an hour and a half gap. These people will be walking in when I'm leaving. And I'm waiting there for the bus to pick me up, and and they're like unrolling a towel on the bench and laying out a bunch of food and talking on the phone. It's like, this is like an hour of your life. You could be doing this at home, but you're hanging around and you're not getting a ride. I see them pulling in cars, so I know it's not one of those deals, because I've been watching this now for 4 years. What are these ladies doing? And so once I ask her, and she's like, well, I just want to get here and know that everything's all right and I can get started right when I need to. I like to get here, relax, talk on my phone, have me some food. It's like, oh, let's do this at home. I mean, it's literally, this place is filthy. Like you're just having a picnic in a place where there's metal flying around the air and it's loud and dirty. It's like, what are you doing? But that's what she's got to do. That's her ritual. It's like you're giving an extra hour and a half of your life. You're not getting paid for it. It's just showing up. Here I am.
Yeah, I feel bad showing up a half hour early for work all the time. But I just do it so I can settle in and get ready and be at my workstation. So
I have it now where I just show up on time. So
yeah, I pretty much
so I'm spending the minimal amount of time I have to at work.
Yeah, I pretty much walk in 5 minutes before the shift starts and get everything going. Sometimes 15. If the weather's really bad, there's a lot of snow and ice, I will show up 40 minutes early. That's just because I don't want to deal with it. And I know everyone else is going to be late, so I can steal their charged forklift because I was there early. But other than that, yeah, I don't get the people there's just two ends of the extreme there and nothing in the middle.
yeah, I should probably show up 10 or 15 minutes early, but not. Some reason half hour for some reason seems good to me because I have time to talk to my uncle maybe a little bit, or talk to somebody for 5 minutes and make my day a little bit better than start my day. So plus I usually read or look at Reddit or something for half an hour before work starts. I don't know. I can definitely do that at home, and it's definitely, I don't need to leave at I gotta be out the door by 7:12 so I can make it the 2 blocks to my work. A 2-minute commute, so I can start work at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I just get there on time because there's nothing that my presence without me working will make better.
Yeah. No, and I get that. I wish I could not do that, but it's just something where I don't know why I'm...
But I've been working there forever because usually things I'll show up half an hour to an hour early. Or I remember movies, it's it's a 10-minute drive to the movie theater. It's guys, we gotta go there a half hour ahead of time to make sure we get tickets and get food. Now I leave basically 5 minutes before the movie's starting. It's yeah, give me a ticket to that thing. It's I've probably seen all the trailers that are on before their heads. I don't give a shit. The only time that really burned me is the closest theater to us they switched to this thing. It used to be the ticket stand and the concession stands were separate things, but now they made that all the same thing now.
Oh,
So
okay.
so basically, we had to wait like 20 minutes in line to get our tickets because everybody else was getting popcorn, and we're like basically got in to Black Panther like when it was like 5 minutes into the movie already. It's like, oh,
I mean, if you time it right too, usually you can just avoid all the trailers everyone's fucking seen a million times.
yeah.
So I mean, that's not bad, but yeah, I can see. I don't know why AMC switched. Well, I guess I know why they switched to it. You don't have to pay one more damn person their
Yeah.
wages. You can just pay the 3 people that run the whole fucking 12 auditorium theater their wages for the day. But at the same time, it's like, do they even have like online sales where you can just buy it and then show up?
Yeah, but there's still usually like a will call thing, isn't there?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, they should have something where it's like you buy on your phone, you walk into the theater and flash your phone, and you're
Yeah,
good to go.
Fandango does that. You can just show your phone. You can print out the ticket, or you can pick it up at will call.
Where I saw the movie today, if you buy it online, they have a sign right there. It says, if you bought your tickets online, proceed to your seat. They don't even want to see. But see, what they're doing is they got assigned seating.
Yeah.
So there's either sensors in the seat, or they know how many people are supposed to be in that theater. So if they don't have to deal with you, you can just walk right in and do what you got to do. And then if they, because these are the ones where the seats recline and all that shit. So I guarantee you they know who's sitting in what seat.
Well, at the Marcus Theater, the thing that I wish that the AMC did is they just had the self-serve kiosks, which that would alleviate lots of things.
Yeah.
Because they have that at Marcus Theater. You can do. They have a person. They have self-serve. They have a person there at the desk, and they have concession people. Like, I don't know how they can afford it, but they got all those people.
Probably the arcade upstairs. That really.
Yeah, that's true.
They're moving meth out the back door.
It's a family business, Nathan. They'd never sell meth.
Chop shop underneath the theater. Something going on.
Sweatshop, human trafficking.
Yeah. Fentanyl
Well, that the concessions are like fucking marked up like 600% for what it costs.
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So, I mean, paying $12 for a large popcorn would have cost them like 75 cents.
Yeah, like I said, I'm the most terrible person at a movie theater because like I am
Buy a
never.
ticket and nothing else.
No, it's just that I'm here to see that movie. I've watched lots of things. I can be patient for 2.5 hours and watch a movie, not have to go to the bathroom, not have to drink anything, not eat popcorn. Like, I'm good. I can do that. I don't know what the problem is. Although, when I was watching Ford vs. Ferrari, I almost went to the bathroom like for the first time in my entire life. And then
Yeah.
but I held out. I watched it. So.
Yeah, I almost pissed in my pants. But I didn't make it. Yeah, I used to buy bottled water because one of the biggest bottled water companies is like right near here. So you could buy bottled water like really cheap, even at theaters. But then they started selling those for $5 a bottle. Because I was like, yeah, I'll spend $1 and get a bottle of water because sometimes, you get dry. But then they started doing that. And then so sometimes I'll just bring my own stuff. Or just not eat. And drink, like Ford versus Ferrari, it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I didn't feel thirst or hunger. I'd had plenty of sugar before. So there wasn't a demon clawing at me like, you need juju.
Well, no, back when Marcus didn't have their fancy seats and assigned seating and stuff, we used to do something where we called a double feature where we buy one ticket and then stay for another movie or whatever. We haven't done it since because we figure that since it's assigned seating, it's a lot harder to tell because they do have the maps on the outside, but it never seems to accurately represent how people actually went to the movie. And then 2, they probably have fucking sensors in the seats if they're even halfway fucking intelligent. Because how else do you stop people from doing that? Because they don't have security.
I
for
mean,
that
I
anymore.
doubt there's sensors in the seats. I'm pretty sure it's just a database for every movie showing. I'm pretty sure it's like, this is where it's supposed to go and stuff like that.
No, I know, but at the same time, they don't even come in and do the house checks anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, if they're not doing house checks, that means they're not even counting who's actually in the movie theater, which means...
Well, a lot of those movie theaters, too, probably don't care because they're not getting any of the ticket sales. If it's Disney or something like that, they don't care. They want you to stop at their concession stand. If
Yeah.
there's 900 people in that theater and only 20 of them paid, well, they're not out any money because they're not getting any ticket sales. So, they want to drive people to the. I mean, I know that's how Disney films are. I don't know if every movie's like that.
Well, now
No,
that Disney
they've-
owns 90% of the film stock.
Yeah, but no, yeah, Disney has negotiated that position, but not everybody else has. So
Okay.
And
maybe that's why. Maybe that's what. So we have a cheap theater here. It's like $5, or I guess $6 a ticket,
Yeah.
and they usually just sell. They usually just show second. Well, actually, that doesn't make sense because they were saying.
they show first run now.
Yeah, all right, never mind. Because they're showing first run shows, but they were still $6. So I don't know. Maybe they get away. I don't know. Something.
Well, probably. I mean, it's all about concessions and then people spending money inside the theater besides the ticket sales. So,
Oh, it's an archaic thing, and it'll go away, and then we'll all be sad.
well, like AMC got flack because they unveiled like, oh, we're gonna redo all these theaters and upgrade them and do what Marcus has been doing for their theaters. And then they also at the same time put an online thing where you can just basically watch first run movies online for like $6 or $10 a month. You can watch like 3 or 4 a month online at their AMC movie club, and it's like, well, do you want people to go to your theaters, or do you want people to pay $10 a month to watch first run movies in their home?
I remember there's a thing like you can get. I'm not sure if it still exists, but essentially you just like went right to the movie like studio, and it's like I'll pay $60.
Oh, so you can have like 30 people over at your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't. I don't know if they run that. They used to do that because I know that Tower Heist was the first movie I remember hearing about, where it's like it was generally available to the public, like through, it was like a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
But it was like $65, and you and your friends could watch a first run in theater movie day one in your house. But I don't know if that really took off and other movies do
I'm
that.
sure that movie was to blame for it.
I mean, I think they picked something. They didn't want to do that with like Star Wars.
No, I know that. They can't like pick like the biggest blockbuster movie of the year to do it with. But Tower Heist is not a good movie to try and
well, maybe
pilot
they knew that
program.
one was going to be a bomb, so it's like we'll have this interesting release thing, so maybe that'll be a thing the movie's remembered for, not for the actual movie, but for the release thing.
I've never seen the movie and have no interest in seeing it. I didn't remember that just now. So.
Well, because Mark Cuban for a while when he was doing independent financing for films, didn't he do the whole like it releases on video, theaters?
Yeah, it
and
was
on
all
demand the same
everything
day?
on the same day. Well, he owns a chain of theaters,
Oh, okay.
and so they'd show in his theaters. You could watch it on pay-per-view, or you could just get the DVD. It all came out in the same day.
But didn't that? I don't think that really is around anymore either, is it?
No, not really. I mean, now you get stuff like Amazon will have like limited run movies, like just for like the Oscar nominations, and it's like it'll be on their service like 3 months later or something. Netflix occasionally has stuff. They did that with The Irishman.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out why people would want to go pay to see that in theaters. It's like, oh, I can watch it on Netflix for basically free.
Well,
or-
it seemed like Martin Scorsese made them release it in theaters, and they did things like they bought a movie theater in New York just to show it. So
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Have you guys watched that?
Not yet. It's 3.5 hours. that's
Andrew
why
fell asleep to it,
I said I was gonna fall asleep too
That's-
if I started it.
but it's not necessarily a condemnation of it. It's a long ass movie.
It was
Yeah.
like 4 hours or something.
3.5 hours long.
Yeah.
I mean, but Casino was that long too.
Yeah,
so.
I have no problem with the length of it. It's just I need to set aside an afternoon to watch that.
Yeah, it's
movie.
not like I'm gonna watch a movie like, holy fuck, when's this thing gonna end?
Yeah, I'm gonna power through this.
Just like I powered through the first Thor movie last night. That thing's 2 hours long, and God, it feels like it.
Speaking of movies, we watched a movie this week.
Yes.
Watched the Eddie Murphy. Is this a passion project for him? Or?
I'm not sure. Well, the people that wrote it are the same people that wrote like Ed Wood and The People versus Larry Flint.
Oh, okay.
So there's sort of a track record there.
Okay, because I thought this was like a Eddie Murphy-driven thing. Maybe not.
I don't think so, but he's a good choice for this. So.
Oh yeah, because he did the Dolomite Is My Name, which was a Netflix movie about Rudy Ray Moore, who I vaguely remember. Didn't we talk about blaxploitation films on here at one time?
Possibly.
Didn't we watch Shaft or watch something like that? Kind of films of that genre, like I know we watched some black kung fu movie that was kind of a good bad movie from the 70s.
I'm trying to think what that was. I can't
That was
remember.
years ago. That or I'm full of shit. Both are equally as likely. So yeah, and I remember hearing about Rudy Ray Moore then, and then the guys on Red Letter Media, they always had a Rudy Ray Moore roundup.
Yeah.
I forget what that one was. That wasn't.
Well, they did like Dolomite and like the Return Dolomite, and then the one that was really like stood out was Petey Wheatstraw.
Petey Wheatstraw. That's it had the devil in it. And
Yeah, it's like this guy he like wants to be successful, and so he sells his soul to the devil, and then like when the devil starts to collect his due, he decides, nah, I'm gonna beat the shit out of the devil.
physically fight and destroy it.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm sure you're not the first person to talk about that.
Well, I think he overcomes, but then they do like it becomes a horror movie at the end, and like, oh no, it didn't work out. It's freeze frame, Petey Wheatstraw.
No, I was gonna. Oh fuck! What was that one? It was like Undercover Brother, like that actually popped up in my feed last night because I guess there's a sequel to that came out like last year, and I'm like, who the fuck wanted to make a sequel to Undercover Brother?
Oh, they made a sequel? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like Undercover Brother 2, and it was like that movie did not do well, and I only watched it because it was free in the movie theater I worked at for me to watch it. So I was like, okay. And I knew that's more of a take on the blaxploitation thing. It's not an actual blaxploitation movie.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly where this fits, because like, I think they made a point in this movie that it's not necessarily like a blaxploitation movie. It's just kind of a movie that's predominantly made by black people. It's
But
just
But when was Dolomite put out versus Naked Gun? Because the themes seem very similar.
I'd say it's like closer to Airplane, but
It's 1975 is when it was released. I don't know
okay.
when it was filmed
It's probably 74 at least.
because there seemed to be kind of a gap.
But
there.
there seemed to be a little time when he actually got it sold.
Yeah, because nobody would buy it.
Yeah.
I don't like when was is it Kentucky Fried Movie? When did that come out? I could do it on my end, but it'll get weird on YouTube.
Oh, that's fine.
Because I'd say like this movie, because even though like this is the same people, this isn't like an Ed Wood thing. This isn't like somebody made a masterpiece of disaster, a disaster piece of a movie. Like this is a movie that is intended to be funny and just enjoyable, but it's not necessarily like a technical masterpiece in any way.
1977.
Is that Kentucky Fried Movie? Okay, so
Yeah.
this predates Kentucky Fried Movie? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this kind of seemed like a spoof movie. I had never watched the original movie, but how they portray it in this movie.
Yeah, and that's why I was thinking it was more like, oh, once again, somebody not white comes out with something and it does well, and then the white people.
Yeah,
go
and then they
off.
all pick up on it. Yeah.
Like,
Well, they showed like, what was it, that it was some Walter Matthau movie that they like, why are people laughing at this? This sucks. Where are the titties?
Yeah. And they were all in the theater. She gonna suck his dick? What's going on here? This ain't funny. Who wants to see this? Well, it's like the way I like the way he explained it to the theater, because like they had a showing of this at and initially at a theater, kind of in an urban part of what city were they in? Where did they show Dolomite? Where he first showed it, where he had to pay the guy $400 to show.
Oh,
the
was that
movie.
was that in like Detroit? I can't
I
remember.
thought it was either Atlanta or Detroit. I don't know, but anyway.
Or maybe it was like Ohio somewhere. Can't
But it
remember.
was somewhere. It was like with an urban black presence.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were watching the movie, and the theater owner was standing behind him, and he was a black dude too. But he was like, "So what am I seeing here? Is this a comedy? Is it supposed to be action?" And he like the Eddie Murphy playing Rudy Ray Moore kind of had to look and think for a minute. He's like, "Well, it's kind of all of these things. It's got humor, it's got kung fu," and the guy was looking at him funny, and then people were laughing and carrying on in the theater. And he's like, "Look, they love it." You know, kind of whatever this is, because he was essentially, because he was doing what he called the Chitlin circuit, where it was just a bunch of nasty humor.
Yeah. The first part of this movie is him kind of being like a song and dance man who can't
Yeah.
find his way in the current society, and so he makes this like vulgar comedy character and he kind of becomes a success in like the comedy circuit and selling albums and stuff.
Yeah, but it's all like rhyme scheme.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, first he goes to like all the old drug
Homeless
addicts and
people,
steals all their jokes.
repackages them.
Yeah.
He's the Carlos
And it
Mencia of his day.
It was weird stuff like I rode my dick across the ocean. It was just like I can't remember all the steam of it because this was considered to have a very heavy influence on rap, like when that started. 'Cause it
Yeah.
was in that same timbre.
Well, yeah, at the end of it, they give like Rudy Ray Moore like a lot of credit. Like he invented everything, and like I'm kind of skeptical of that, but also I'm not like a Black History major, so I'm not the one to counter that argument. But,
Well, I mean, because they always had like in jazz, they would do that scat stuff.
yeah.
Zoobity boobity bop, and so they were always kind of throwing shit together.
Well, the thing I was thinking, I was like comparing this to Neuromancer in a weird way,
Okay, let me hear this.
where it's like like Neuromancer was like incredibly influential, but I wouldn't say it was the progenitor of anything really.
Yeah, it just had ideas and people kind of. Well, no, it's because William Gibson explained that. Like, I didn't invent the internet or cyberpunk. People took the things I wrote and then invented shit around it and then assigned it that name. I did not come up with that, though.
Yeah.
Like that. It's like, well, this fits that name because we don't have a name for this. So, yeah, that could be. There's
also there's like
a lot of different stuff, though, that like the origin of hip hop. Like, there's some Italian guy who did that weird song. It was in the third season of what was that? Fargo. Remember where the guy's just talking gibberish and he's doing callbacks to the audience, and it's a song from the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, that's rap, but it's like in gibberish, and it's by an Italian guy. But so a lot of people say, no, that was the origin of that. So everyone's trying to find these origins of hip hop. And it's like, well, it's a lot of different things that happen at once, really.
I mean, he's a contributor to the
Yes,
prevalence
exactly.
of hip hop and stuff like that. But not necessarily like the inventor of it. But.
No, and he wasn't trying to do that.
No.
He was a
just
guy
trying
who
to-
just.
Yeah, he's just trying to make his way in comedy or acting or anything, because that's what. I mean, the whole movie just seems like he's very go get him, like he wants to succeed at any cost. I mean, not any cost is like he's a megalomaniac. Any cost is
Well,
like,
well, it's like the fun thing is like how much he keeps giving up his like his royalties on his comedy album. Eventually, by the end of it, he just doesn't make anything off the album. And the guys are like, "Hey, we can just like take all your money, but I mean, that seems like a bad deal for you." It's like, "We'll do it," but
Oh, he paid him back though.
yeah.
Because
I wonder if
Dolomite made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, for the time, it was actually pretty impressive.
But like another thing with because like this wasn't anything like, this wasn't like the first black exploitation movie because that was already going on at the same time. I like when they go to that movie theater, the movie they're playing is The Harder They Come, which is like a Jamaican, essentially kind of like it's like a Jamaican musical movie where a guy has a band. And then he's getting chased by the cops. It's like one of the first like midnight movies. It was like one of the successful ones. And so like, there's a lot of like this stuff already existed, but there's just like, this group was just particularly, came out with their brand of stuff at that time. So, but
Yeah, well, and part of it was just his charm, because like he was doing really vulgar comedy.
yeah,
At least as portrayed in this movie. I don't know anything about the guy in real life. I mean, he wasn't Mr. Rogers, obviously, but he seemed like kind of this optimistic, devil may care, like, yeah, we're just gonna do this, and it's gonna work because I believe in it, and I believe in myself. And he always said like positive things to people,
well,
even though he was doing weird movies where he like shot people to death and laughed. He always seemed like a positive guy.
yeah. Well, it's like that. He does that one comedy routine. He meets that lady after the show, and then he thinks that she's kind of funny. He's like, yeah, you should be a comedian. And she's like, I can never do that. Look at me. And then like basically gets her to believe in herself, and like she plays this whole role, and she's also a part of the group now. And,
Yeah.
And it's also a nice, friendship because it's not for sex or anything.
Yeah.
Anything in his favor. It's all just about believing in her, basically. So I actually like that because I was like assuming at some point it would just go like, oh, they both liked each other and then they got together. Like it never ended up that way. So I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, somebody that actually doesn't care about fucking somebody. Like,
Yeah, it didn't seem to.
or at least as portrayed in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie they see. Yeah, I don't know how much they're, making it just a likable character.
Yeah.
But Eddie Murphy did a great job in this, and it was nice to see Wesley Snipes and Keegan Michael Key. That was funny. Like he's the serious playwright.
Yeah, he's like
I'm writing about the black experience.
he has some this terrible nonsense, but
Yeah, but Rudy Ray Moore kind of pulls him in, even though he knows it's nonsense. Because he was telling him, it's like, man, no one wants to see that shit. That's that slave shit. No one wants that. People want to see this. And he just like, oh my god. But he went along with him, and
yeah, because it's like he's like a real thespian, and he's like teaching acting, but like nobody's hiring these black actors for anything, so they just kind of put on their own theatrical stuff, and he's doing like really high end like theatrical, or not theatrical, but like theater, but plays and stuff like that. It's like, but like that's not going to be seen by stuff. It's like, come shoot my tits and kung fu movie. We need someone to write a story. And he doesn't seem to necessarily be like he doesn't put his name on everything. It's like he doesn't direct the movie. Doesn't even write the movie. He's like a co-writer and a star of the movie, but he's not necessarily, his name isn't plastered. Like everybody has a job that he trusts them to do the job, because what does he know about making movies? He just trusts that he's gonna, at the end of the day, they're gonna make something that people will like. So.
yeah.
And they get they get a DP. It's just like a bunch of white kids out of college. Like, we know how to run the equipment. It's like, good, because I don't.
I like how they didn't have power. They had to go outside and mess with a junction box. Oh, because it was some abandoned hotel.
And I guess the director of photography for that first movie, his dad was like a very famous like Polish director or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but see, by the end of it, like everyone was just kind of following in his wake because no one was getting paid anymore.
Yeah.
Because they were just like working for, because they had some interesting scenes in there, like he's just making sandwiches for the crew. Like that's their craft services. Is like this guy's putting meat and mayonnaise on a sandwich. Like, here you go. The movie was made for nothing. They ran out of film. I like that. They had to go for more money because they were just using film in stock from like UCLA or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't even have any more of that. And it's like, how much is this going to cost? Like $10,000. Like, what the fuck? Why didn't know film cost so much? It's just crazy. Right in the middle of a production. It's like, I didn't know film was so expensive. Which is great. I mean,
but also like kind of showed like, it's like everybody, like at some point nobody was getting paid anymore, but they were still there to finish the movie because they believed in it, or at least in him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't trying to fuck him over. He just didn't have any more money.
Yeah. Nothing to it. It's just like a bunch of people deciding we're going to make a movie.
Yeah, and he was cutting corners wherever he could too. He wasn't like
oh yeah.
on anything. I mean, I don't know if that.
Although that sex scene, that looked to be the most expensive scene in the movie. You got a falling ceiling and shit moving on the walls.
I like how they handled that too, because like they showed him, they had a real human moment. Like, no one's gonna want to see me in a sex scene, big old gut, having sex with some white girl, and who was it? Was it the other lady that told him to just make it funny?
Yeah.
So you can get through it, because everyone was kind of like nerved up, like. Oh. So they just made it humorous, which fit with the movie well. And
also, it's one of those impossible things where it's like they like make it a surprise for the audience, but it's also a surprise for the entire production crew. Like all this shit they rigged up, like nobody knew was going on. Like that's not gonna happen on a film set. I mean,
Yeah.
it might have happened here, but I doubt as complex as that shit is. They make when Wesley Snipes like the ceiling starts collapsing. He's like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, he's the director. He should know what's gonna happen in the fucking scene.
Yeah. I like the Bob Odenkirk cameo as the guy from Dimension.
Yeah,
He was basically playing another version of Saul,
yeah.
sleazy movie guy. It's like, we can distribute your movie.
I like his film pitch though, where he's basically like how white flight has destroyed all the inner cities of America, but it's like what's left is like these beautiful theaters that white people don't go to anymore. It's like, you know who's gonna go to these theaters? Like your audience.
Yeah.
And you're gonna show your movies in the most beautiful theaters in America.
True, too. But yeah, that was, I was surprisingly entertained by this movie.
Yeah.
Because it was like, because I knew who Rudy Ray Moore was. I knew what Dolomite was. It's like, what's this biopic gonna be like? You know, it's like this kind of this weird genre of films that existed for like a decade. And but yeah, and then they came back as Medea, the modern blaxploitation films,
Yeah.
which is the same thing. Like, you sit there and watch it, you know, and we're just a bunch of white guys. Like, is this funny? Like, you know why Dolomite's like significant or interesting? It's just because it's like, oh, this is a genre film from a genre that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
This
Well,
guy-
I mean, I could from the clips I've seen from Dolomite, it comes off as very Airplane to me, at least.
Yeah,
Where it's like the thing about Airplane is intended to be funny, but also what makes it more funny is sort of the lack of technical detail to the production of it.
yeah,
It's like things don't make sense, but like that thing making sense is funny.
Well, can you actually find like an original copy of the Dolomite movie?
Yeah.
around, or is that...
Yeah, I think you can.
yeah. You can order it on Amazon. I'm pretty sure.
No, because I never actually heard of the movie or the guy before watching the Netflix movie, so that's why I was. Like,
Red Letter Media, they did a whole stuff on all of his films, and so if you want to get a good clip show of that, like he does that, because Petey Wheatstraw is amazing in just clips, because it's like, who the fuck would it? Because there's that point, it almost seems like it's sort of like a handoff to Petey Wheatstraw. There's that point in the movie where it's like, let's put some exorcism shit in it. And he's like, what? Like, where the fuck did that come from? It's like, you're right, we'll save that for the next movie.
You can buy the Dolomite Collection, which is 7 movies for $31.
oh god, that's not bad at all.
It's on Dolomite is on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
You
Oh,
can watch it there.
well, because I guess I obviously like, hey, it made a bunch of money and it was popular to stay, but I didn't know how much it carried over to now because I had never heard of it. But
Oh
You know,
yeah,
Well, I'm not sure how
it's a
much it had
known
been
quantity.
re-promoted.
yeah,
I'm not sure, and also I don't know who owns the rights. It might have been a company that's just not too worried about promoting it.
money
Yeah, it kind of made its. Again, these are very temporal movies. They're not timeless classics. Just like it's like a subgenre.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some blaxploitation films that you can. They have some films with some pretty racist titles, but they were made to appeal to black people. Like the most famous ones are the Shaft movies,
Yeah.
like the Richard Roundtree, because those were like high quality, high production value for that time, but they were just like,
And there's like there's a bunch of Pam Grier ones.
yes,
Because I think what was it?
Foxy Brown.
Foxy Brown. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I like her.
and but yeah, I think the first one was called like it's like Sweetback's Badass something. It has
Yeah.
it's a really long line. So you know who Mario Van Peebles is?
Yeah, yeah.
So his dad directed that, and I think that's considered like one of the first blaxploitation movies. And he actually like directed sort of a biopic about that whole process of making that movie, and he plays his father. I think it's just called Badass with like 40 S's.
Yeah. Yeah, those were like late 60s, early 70s.
also
Yeah,
playing.
Pam Grier's 70. Holy shit.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Side note. So Dolomite, check it out.
It's on
It's
Netflix.
fun. Dolomite is my name. Is actually Dolomite is actually the name of the movie, but this one with it's good to see Eddie Murphy doing stuff again.
Yeah.
It was
It's fun.
really sad at the end. I totally forgot because right as soon as the end scene, it's like dedicated to Charlie Murphy. It's like, oh, I forgot he was dead. Like I
Yeah.
still can't believe that Charlie Murphy's dead.
Yeah, that hit me too. It was like, oh fuck, did he die? When did he die? That's right, he
Oh,
died.
Shit, he should not have died.
I didn't know he was his older brother either.
Yeah,
And also,
I mean, Eddie Murphy's like 16 or no, I'm sorry, 59 now,
yeah,
which is hard to believe.
Yeah, he doesn't really come off as 59 in the movie, but I mean, obviously.
well, it's like I think at that time Rudy Moore was like 35 or 38 or something like that.
Yeah,
So he's like, but also like Wesley Snipes is playing like 15 years younger than he actually is in his character's age. But
yeah. Yep, Charlie Murphy had, what did he have, sickle cell anemia or leukemia or something like that?
I believe it was leukemia. I think it was a blood cancer.
Yeah, he had some kind of blood disease, and he never talked about it. So, but everyone was shocked. It's like, oh, he's dead. And he's weird because his like career started big in his 50s. It's like he became famous after, because what was his big show, Living Color?
Was he on that? Oh.
Yeah, I think he was
Because the first time I become aware of him was when he was on Chappelle's show.
No, yeah, not Chappelle, not Living Color, Chappelle Show. I think I'm mixing all my black entertainment.
When they were doing the Prince stuff, he's like, Charlie Murphy.
Yeah, he's playing basketball with It's a really bizarre story. And then the one about what's the guy? It's like cocaine is a powerful drug. Who's that guy? I don't know. But anyway,
Was that Mooney or what's his name?
yeah, Carl Mooney.
Yeah, I think it's
So yeah, my name is Dolomite. It's fun. Check it out. It's a whole rabbit hole of weird entertainment that most of white middle America has never heard of. So we read a book.
The Joys of Sex. I didn't find it very joyful. I don't know about you guys.
This is one of Conlon's recommends that I never read before now. Is called Matterhorn, a novel of the Vietnam War. It's singularly the most informative and depressing book about war I've ever read.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I wouldn't say it's the most depressing book about war I've ever read, but it's
the most depressing. Like this is what would you call?
Is it
this?
because
Like,
it feels real? Like you could understand everything that happens in it?
yeah, this is like fiction, nonfiction, where
Yeah,
it's like,
it's vaguely based on his real life. Like,
yeah. And the stuff that went on, like the stuff that struck me that went on was like with the command structure. And it's like you see it from the guys on the ground, and then you see the motivations of the colonels and all the way up to a general. And it's like, well, all these people think they're doing the right thing, but they're not. And people are jockeying for promotion, and there's no bad news to the boss. And at the same time, people are dying, or they're running out of water or food or bullets, and they're kind of vaguely fighting for things and then retreating from those positions for no reason, and then having to retake those positions, and they're trying to second guess what.
because they moved the terms of success on this war to body count,
Yes.
which isn't necessarily a good metric, especially if you follow like all American conflicts. Like in almost every American conflict, the kill to death ratio is horrifying in our
Yeah.
favor.
Yeah.
Because like you like watch like Black Hawk Down, and it's like, oh, we got our asses kicked, and like it's like we couldn't beat like these group of rebels that are barely organized, and like they couldn't beat this like highly engaged war machine. And it's like, what was the body count? It's like, oh, 11 of our guys got killed and several were injured, and like how many of them did we kill? Oh, like 1,200.
Yeah. 1,200 to 5,000, depending on how you measure it.
Is that like, did we get our ass kicked or not? It's like, well, yeah, it depends how you measure things. And so, like, if you measure a war by body count, yeah, we've won every war we've ever been in.
But
By huge margins.
but unfortunately, most people count it by ground control and political organization at the end.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this was the era of McNamara's math war,
Yeah.
where everything was quantifiable, and you gathered all this data and you crunched it through a machine, and you still lost. Well, I mean, actually, technically, there's a weird thing about the Vietnam War. Was it a loss? It's like, well, did we achieve our objectives? No. Did we surrender to the Vietnamese? No. So it just became a thing because the overarching thing that ended the Vietnam War was cost, because it was costing upwards of, what was it, like $12 billion a month there at the height of the conflict. Like, because they were just carpet bombing and firing missiles, and they were still getting attacked. Like, we're not seeing results, and the public was, like, horribly opposed to it.
Yeah.
Violently opposed to it.
Yeah, because they made that very clear in several instances in the book where they talk about going home and being, disrespected or not having any, people hating them for being in the war and stuff. And, like, yeah, I get that, and I don't think besides World War II, I think it's probably been the most popular war in the United States in modern times. But otherwise, like the Iraq War, the first and the second, I don't think was very popular.
The first one was kind of popular.
Yeah, it ended kind of quickly.
It's like, hey, cool, we got to use these new toys, and then it was over with.
Oh, camera missiles. Cool. Highway of Death. What? Shh.
Afghanistan's not
The Russians did it.
Yeah.
I mean, are we still, what countries? Like Syria and there's like what other Middle Eastern country?
Afghanistan?
No, I already said Afghanistan, but Syria and someplace else where military.
Oh, they're all over Africa and
But
Libya.
yeah, it's like none of that stuff is what I would say publicly popular. I wouldn't say it's unpopular either. It's kind of like middle of the road where nobody wants to be in the wars, but nobody openly cares enough to protest them.
Well, nobody's kids are being involuntarily conscripted in the armed forces either.
Yeah, when the military is entirely volunteer, then like you just don't give a shit what happens to them. It's like, oh, it's their choice.
Yeah. Fuck them. Yeah. I mean, that's not what they say, but it's what they say. Because like, you didn't vote for the people that started this war, did you? Yeah, you throw those questions at them. Like, I love America. It's not that much.
You love America to die for this? No, I love Canada. Canada doesn't get involved in wars for no reason.
Which brings up one of the most interesting characters in the book.
Oh, Vancouver?
Vancouver.
Yeah.
With his sword.
We probably can't say that. his
the G word.
His nuke sword. Although later on they call them Gooners. I hope that's not something extra racist that becomes a name later on.
Just call him the VC.
What was it? They'd have like some South Vietnamese that were attached to their group. What they call them, Kit Carsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what were they? The Arvin, and they always added things onto that name. So that was the Army of the Republic of Vietnam.
Okay, I didn't know what Kit Carson referred to, or if that was like some extra, or if it's another thing. It's racist, and I don't understand.
I know those two guys were deserters to the North Vietnamese that came over, and then were, supposedly loyal to South Vietnam now.
But they didn't trust them whatsoever.
Yeah, they didn't trust them. From actions in the book, I wouldn't trust them either.
Fuck their own people over the. And they're probably not wrong.
Obviously, the Marines did not have a very good opinion of the South Vietnamese army because the South Vietnamese army never really did anything.
No, because they mentioned that multiple times. They have like tremendous respect for the North Vietnamese because they're dangerous and they will kill you.
Right.
But the South Vietnamese just want us to fight their war for them. That's all.
Yeah.
And
they're just lazy and they're not going to fight for themselves.
Well, that was a who was the guy that was the president? of South Vietnam. He was very corrupt too. That was the guy that cut. The president of South Vietnam, I think, got assassinated like halfway through the Vietnam War, and they had to put another guy in. So,
but Vancouver, he's a guy from Canada, but he joins the Marines from Canada, which you can do that. There's like it's actually a bunch of people in the military where like that's a path of citizenship is that you come here, join the military, and when you're done, you're basically an American citizen when you're done with it. That's like there's like tons of people that I saw, and like if you watch other war movies, like why is this guy not speaking English and why is he in the military? And it's like, oh, that's why.
yeah.
So he joins the Marines, and then like they talk about like you don't really get too much of his life, but people speculate on it. It's like he's a Canadian who joins the Marine Corps, and it's like, oh, obviously his home life sucks and nobody cares if he lives or dies, and he just wants to come fight a war.
Yeah.
But you don't really get like internal reflection from Vancouver. He's just the guy. We get some because he's always the point man. He has a sawed-off M60, which I still don't know how to imagine that, but they say that in the.
Yeah, they talk because he gets off a helicopter, and they like have two of the guys are watching him that aren't part of that platoon. It's like, that guy has a fucking sawed-off M60. How did they get? Because they talk about how the handle's made and stuff. So he must be a very powerful person.
Yeah.
Like physically strong onto that thing.
But also they're like, there's no way that fire is accurate.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's always a point man, and he does that, and he has some reflection about him being constantly scared, but he just like, he doesn't want to have anybody else in that position, so he always volunteers for it. He never takes any leadership roles because he just wants that point position.
Yeah.
So, because that's, so the braveness of Vancouver.
Or the fact that he just wants to kill people.
Yeah, that's a side benefit.
Because remember, he ordered.
I mean, he didn't have to be in this war. He wanted to.
Yeah,
be
he absolutely did not have to be in because he was from Vancouver. Well, remember the one guy wouldn't give him his sword because it's like, oh, we got that a long time ago. We're just not going to give it to him because he's always asking about it. He's like, why aren't you going to give him his sword? It's because the dumbass will try to go kill people with a sword. They have machine guns, and we know that. So, yeah, this guy was obviously a little unhinged or just really loved violence. Some people do.
Or just wanted to prove himself,
Yeah. Well, another thing I found interesting in this book was the how it dealt with race.
Yeah.
Which was like, there's a lot of these terms I'm just not going to say on YouTube, but the white guys were called something, the black guys were called something. It wasn't the
well, the white guys called Chucks, weren't they?
Yeah, Chucks.
That's not bad, I don't think. At least we can say that. We can say that.
Small word.
Yeah. Can white people say derogatory things against white people? Yes, totally.
And then the black people had a name which I hadn't heard that term until I started working here 20 years ago when the Vietnam guys were starting to retire. Like when I started, they were going out, and I'd heard them black people call themselves that, and white people call black people that. And it's like, well, I have never heard that term before or since. And I read this book. It's like, oh, this is where it comes from. It was something that happened when whites and blacks were fighting together, which Vietnam was really the first war that happened in, where it was a fully integrated military. But I did like, they had some insight into race relations. Like, we don't want you to solve because the lieutenant's kind of this liberal guy from Princeton. Let me get his name. Mellis is like this liberal guy who went to Ivy League.
Hey, I mean, he's like a typical character you find in these war movies. The naive young lieutenant who thinks he's going to solve everything.
Let's talk about this.
And is gung-ho about getting a promotion or proving himself.
And then a few of the black guys that he can relate to, the one guy tells him, it's like, we don't want you to solve our fucking problems. We can fuck up just the same as you. We don't need white people there to hold our hands and tell us, oh no, you're doing it wrong. It's like, we can all fuck up. You can fuck up. We can fuck up. Just leave us alone, man. And that was kind of like an interesting take on, especially at that time and place, about, it's like, yeah, we don't need your help. We don't want your help. because every time you try to help us, we always end up getting fucked. um,
Or there's that interesting one in the beginning where it's Jackson, the guy he's impressed with. It's like, oh, people like him and he's smart. Like he should be a squad leader, or yeah, squad leader. And he's like thinking like, oh, I'm gonna give him that position, and then like the racist white guys, he's back and is like, oh, don't do that. And they're like, oh, why? Because he's black? He's like, no, because if you give him a position of leadership, all his black friends are gonna hate him because he's working for the white guy now. It's like, oh, this is how institutionalized racism comes. It's like, oh, we're not giving him a position because then people will hate him. It's like, and then he's like, oh, fuck, you're right. And then nobody ever gets any leadership roles.
Nope. And then everyone gathers in their own groups.
Yeah.
Just start saying things like they're keeping us down, and the white guys are like, well, what can you do with them? You can't trust them. They'll throw a grenade under your bed, and which actually,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that go on in this book like that, where it's like, oh, this is hopeless.
Well, I mean, in the month that this book takes place in, and I do mean month because Melis is even talking about like how much time he has left. He's basically been in the bush for like a month and a half in this whole.
Yeah, because so like what the interesting thing about Melis is that he's not like an infantry officer. He was in something else, but because they're short on officers, like, well, every Marine's a rifleman, so we'll just take any officer and we're gonna have to give them some infantry experience because they do that a lot with officers. Like officers get moved around all the time doing things they were never trained to do because officers, I guess, are always in short supply, or they need them to be able to do multiple things so they can go anywhere and do things. So
yeah,
that's what happens with officers. So here it's like a guy who isn't experienced, technically learned, but has a combat experience essentially at the start of this.
Yeah,
because he doesn't even have a rifle when he gets there. He just has all officers just have
pistols.
They just have 1911s, and it's like because you're supposed to be directing other people with rifles toward thing. You're not supposed to be handling it yourself. But like any chance he gets, like, well, one of our guys died, better take his rifle, and he has a rifle for like the rest of the book. So
yeah.
Well, it's a smart thing to do. He needs to have a gun just like everybody else. I mean, he has a gun, but not an effective one for that kind of fight.
Well, I mean, it's like he's supposed to be like a guy in the radio coordinating artillery strikes. He's not necessarily supposed to be like a point man taking a bunker, but he does that anyways.
Yeah, but by the end of the book, what's the only fucking named character that isn't Melis that's not horribly wounded or dead is basically, China? And then...
Yeah, China makes it. Fitch makes it. He's another officer.
And then fucking Scar.
Who's the guy who couldn't read maps?
I think it was Fitch.
Was it? Yeah, because there was one guy that and he even said, he's like, I'm terrible with maps. I don't know why they have me out here like this. I can't read a map.
Well, like, I think Fitch is the guy who's like, they talk about who it's like people under him will die for him, but he's like not politically savvy whatsoever, so he'll never like make it anywhere in the Marine Corps because people trust him and will die for him. So, like, that's the thing he's good at. He's just.
I mean, Scar is still alive at the end of the book too.
Who's Scar?
The other commander. The guy that he took the machine gun down when they were still on Matterhorn.
Okay.
And so he went out to the bush and then got the goop machine gun.
Okay.
And so, I'm sorry, the nuke machine gun.
The Gooner machine gun.
Yeah. And so he had
somebody machine gun.
Somebody shot him through the ear because he arrived at this around the same or a little bit after Melis did. He was the other platoon commander, and he got the other platoon. And people liked him more because he was a hunter. Because when Melis and him came into the drop zone together and they're taking fire with a machine gun, Melis just kind of quickly got the fuck down, and then Scar actually was trying to figure out where the machine gun fire was coming from. And so because it actually had Hawk break down why he liked Scar at the time more than Melis, because he was like, yeah, because Scar's a fighter, he'll get in there and he'll kill the enemy. You're more of the thinker, and you'll react and have a plan and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, there's not, for as far as outcome for most characters in this book, it's not good.
No. Well, it's a Vietnam book, so that's it's kind of expected.
Yeah, and this was set in Quang Tri province, which was one of the most violent areas
Yeah.
It was right before the 1970s. So,
But yeah, the thing like it's called Matterhorn because there's this hill they took a while ago because the enemy was there and like, well, we better hold this. They call it Matterhorn, and then like some guy is like, we want you to build like artillery-proof bunkers up there, and they start doing that. They get that done. It's like, all right, now we're gonna fuck off this hill and go march in the jungle looking for enemy. It's like
Well,
everyone.
there was some kind of what they called a political operation, which was an offensive somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
It sucked a lot of resources away from these guys.
Yeah, they moved the artillery closer to the. I can't remember.
Because here they were dealing with people crossing into was it Laos and Cambodia. Like they could only go so far. They couldn't shoot into those countries. And
Yeah.
that was one of the problems they had because the guys would just retreat back into those countries and regroup and because you know I mean like the Vietnam War was like a lot of wars that we've seen since then. I don't think we ever directly lost an engagement. Maybe during the Tet Offensive.
Yeah.
But everything else was always just hit and fade because you could never run these guys down because you'd be invading yet another country to do it.
Yeah.
And
also that's like to get the body. So like some things, especially happens here, is like to get a body count up. Is like, well, we need a body there. So it's like, all right, we're gonna take this hill, and then we're just gonna leave the hill, and then those guys are gonna take the hill back. It's like, hey, there's fresh people to kill, and then that's how you. It's like we got a body count up. It's like, and they go through like the body count math, or like like, well, we know we wounded a guy, we maybe killed 2 other, but they all got dragged away, and then like 2 guys maybe getting killed equates to like 8 kills, 8 confirmed combat kills.
Yeah, I like how they went up that example too, where it's like, well, it transfers from this group to this group, and they're gonna add a kill. That probable is gonna become 2 probables or a kill. And it's like, we gotta get these numbers up. We gotta make them look better.
How do we have 8 probables and no confirms?
I like how they were supposed to steal badges and uniform insignia off the enemy.
Yeah.
Because it was like, well, you have to turn those in because those are if you're cutting somebody's insignia off, pretty good chance they're dead. But then there was kind of this weird economy of like, well, there's that, or I could do that, or I could get money for this, or keep it as a souvenir. Like, I don't know what to do. And then the one guy they had, of course, who were they talking to about like the necklace of ears type shit? It's like you don't want to be those guys.
Yeah.
With like the necklace of ears, like don't keep souvenirs.
Well, there's a stuttering guy at the end who's like took an ear.
Yeah.
And then Mouse is like, don't fucking do that. They'll write you up for that. You'll get court-martialed for that shit. He's like, what the fuck did I go? He shot my friends.
Yeah, well,
like,
that came up a few times in the book, which it's like, oh, those are weird conversations. Hey, the necklace of ears thing is bad. It's good bad, but it's bad. Don't do it or don't get caught with it.
There was that one weird one where like they took the effects off a guy and he had like nude pictures and stuff and like notes to people and they're like, burn it, like this will look bad at us somehow. Like it was weird.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, you don't want to send that back to the
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all the photographs collected from all the dead guys, and it was basically, yeah, some of them had like propped up pictures of mutilated people with like them holding them and shit. I mean, the one guy that had the the whore he was sweet on and stuff like that. Those pictures, like, yeah, it was like his nude of her or whatever.
Yeah, I forgot about I forgot the pictures of them posing with dead people.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say a naked woman was something for the Marine Corps to be ashamed of. Like,
send that back to Mama. Here's
Now,
the bar whore that is.
Now, when I was in high school, I've actually seen a photo album somebody's dad had that, of course, was hidden in the basement, and he found, and he was like, "Hey, you want to see this?" And it was pictures of guys posing with dead bodies. There was 2 guys playing cards, looking at the camera like this, while somebody was basically having oral sex with a woman behind them with her legs spread wide up in the air. And these 2 guys were in the foreground looking goofy at the camera, and someone was doing that. Those pictures were kind of funny, but the pictures where the guys were like, because they were in and out of helicopters in a lot of pictures. So I think his dad was a helicopter pilot. And so they would like, you would always see helicopters in the background and a bunch of people blown apart and guys just sitting around. But they were always like had a bottle of Jack Daniels and playing cards and cigarettes. So you knew that they were, but yeah, there were just people blown to bits, and these were like that weird black and white, semi-colored photography that was going on in that era, where it was sort of like what you call black and blue. Like I don't know if the film stock didn't hold up or that was just color film in the '60s, but yeah, I've actually seen one of those books with like many pages, and I looked through it once, and I was like, this is really scary. Because it wasn't like a book in a library or something. It was someone's personal memorandum that their kid found and brought to all of us. And of course, we were reading through it. But yeah, I guess people do that. Isn't that a thing in the news right now? Somebody posed with a corpse and it was a Navy SEAL and he's going to lose his Navy SEAL status. And Trump trying to intervene and say, no, it's okay. Give him his rank.
Oh, is that what that was about? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought maybe it was the Navy SEAL that was going around killing civilians for fun that he pardoned. Because the whole thing with him pardoning that Navy SEAL was so he can go on the campaign trail for Trump. And I'm like, yeah, because that's what people want to see, a disgraced Navy SEAL.
Well, that's what people who support Donald Trump want to see.
Like,
go to any Cracker Barrel in the country, just sit around, listen to some of the conversations. People are pretty comfortable with that sort of thing in some parts of the country. It's like, yeah, good, kill people, that's fine. Unarmed civilians indiscriminately shot. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
well, because I mean, just the accounts of that guy, because that's always worried it was that guy, hoping it's not. Because he would just like point out somebody to his unit and be like, yeah, that guy over there, I'm gonna kill him, and then you just go fucking kill him and shit. And I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of guy you want to pardon. It doesn't sound like he's gonna just randomly kill a shit ton of people here back in the States for no fucking reason. Like, those are the kind of people that should be hung or shot where they're at instead of fucking brought back and even put in jail. Like, I don't understand why we don't have some type of... I mean, I know it's really hard anymore to prove guilty people beyond...
Oh, no, people go to jail for that in war zones all the time, even to this day.
Well, isn't there still shit we execute people for on site?
No.
Not anymore.
They haven't executed anyone for shit they did in war since the Second World War, and that was desertion. And after they did it, it was one guy. They were like, well, this is stupid. Let's not do this again. This is morale breaking.
Yeah, because we had people in the recent war, like, they desert to the enemy, kill some of our soldiers, we capture them, and, like, we still didn't, like, sentence them to death.
Yeah, you just sent them to Leavenworth for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Their life's done, but
yeah.
we didn't kill them. But when it comes that public, you can't just execute them. It's like, oops, they fell on a bullet 73 times.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways that things are handled. There's not a lot of, like, court proceedings along with it. It's just like, yeah, he died. It's terrible.
No, but at the same time, I mean, shouldn't there be... I mean, you catch somebody in the act of doing something horrendous, it would just be better for everybody just to, like... There's no hope of rehabilitating this person. There's no reason to invest a lot of money in keeping him locked up and feeding him for the rest of their lives until they eventually die of natural causes. Why not just take him out back and put a bullet in their fucking head?
Because it's called extenuating circumstances, because he's in a war zone. He may or may not act like this normally.
Like find somebody raping a kid. Like, why not just...
Well, those things are usually handled in turn. Raping children, that's... Yeah, someone will get shot by an enemy who happen to have an M16. But, yeah, I'm sure that stuff's... But there's a whole... Yeah, that's
But also, like, you know, that's... some of that stuff's handled by the Code of Uniform Military Justice, which... or Uniform... UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice. When you're in the military, you are subject to 2 courts. Regular court like everyone else, and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And, you know, how many Uniform Code of Military Justice hearings have you heard of recently?
None,
how many have occurred? Lots!
Yeah,
we just don't know about it.
Thing, yeah.
But I was surprised how fast you guys read this book. I assumed you like it because it's a pretty long book, and you guys just kind of sped through it. So
No,
it's
I liked it.
very readable. It's rich with detail, and you can tell. Well, because again, this is fiction as fact. because this is based on real things, but it's not like a historical novel because it's, you know, it's what do you call that? It's just, you know, it's based on a war. It's based on things that really happened to the guy who wrote it, so you know it's all true. Really, this was written as fiction, I think, just not to name names. You don't have to worry about that. But yeah, the thing about it is, it's like just for someone like me who's never been in the military and has always kind of viewed that stuff with a kind of an air of doubt about, like, wow, what does all this mean and what are these guys really doing? You read something like this, it's like, oh, this is, their lives are fucking weird. And it's not straightforward. It's definitely more ambiguous than what you would think for what they're doing.
I guess the thing I was most impressed about with this is like how much they get like the Marine voice correct.
Okay.
And military in general, because so a book I read before this, which is about the Vietnam War, is called Fields of Fire.
Okay.
And it's basically just like, it's a complete fiction. It's not based on anything. It's just like, it deals with other people's lives and how they end up in the Marine Corps. Most of them are like, you know, criminals who judges like, well, you can go to the Marine Corps, you can go to jail, and it's like people in the Marine Corps, because that's one thing like Marines like to say is like, oh, it's all volunteer. Nobody got drafted. Nobody was like was going to jail, and they joined. Like, no, tons of people in the Marine Corps were on the way to jail, but they joined the Marine Corps, you know, against their will.
Case dismissed.
And people were drafted in the Marine Corps. That totally happened. But anyways, that book, it just doesn't have the voice right. Like, it seems like, oh, you watched a military movie and then you wrote a book about Vietnam. Like, that's kind of because like all the little details are like, you read this, is like, that dude was a fucking Marine.
Because one thing I found interesting is the relationships between the sergeants and the new lieutenants. It's like, well, you technically outrank the sergeant, but you don't, because he knows a lot more about the group than you do, and also about war fighting and about how staff command structures work, and all kinds of like sergeants and master sergeants and gunnery sergeants, and they all seem to have a different expertise.
But yeah, like the voice is like totally right, and it sounds like, you know, just like it does now, just maybe just slightly different nouns are used, like you know, less casual racism and sexism nowadays, but no, it's totally still there.
It exists.
I mean, every time somebody's like, you know, something fucked up happens and a guy goes, just another inch of the big green weenie, it's like, oh yeah, they still say that. It's like all this terminology hasn't changed that much in fucking 40 years.
Yeah, the big green dildo. Yeah. Also, like some of the stuff in here where they, where Mellis is actually talking, like they're figuring out what size force they're fighting, just by, you know, the kind of weapons that are being used against them and how far they have to march. And because he told the one colonel, it's like, I think it's this size of people, and he's like, oh, why the fuck do you think that? And he actually had reasons, and the guy was like, oh shit, he's probably right. They go fudge the numbers again. So it's yeah, there's a lot of interesting detail in this book about how they you know, not only how they fight, but how they figure out how to fight and guess the size of the force. Like the guy knew exactly like how many times are these guys going to send mortars in at us. Well, those mortars weigh 40 pounds each, and how many of these things do you think these assholes are hucking up a hill to shoot at us? It's like they're going to stop shooting within. He had it down to like within the couple hours, and that's exactly what happened. He's like, see, they can't carry those things in. They're not airdropping those in for the North Vietnamese. They have to carry that stuff. I did like the thing too about how they called in an artillery strike on elephants because they use elephants as dray animals, and they're like, well, you gotta kill them every chance you get, and the best way to kill them is artillery. You don't want to shoot these fucking things because they'll just charge at you. It's like, oh, okay, that's weird. I've never heard of that. But yeah, an M16's not an impressive weapon to an elephant. Piss it off.
Big John 6, we got a fire mission for you.
Yep. And then they tried to mix casualties in with that. Well, how many people were tending the elephants? Like, well, we didn't see any people. Say 4.
That way we just don't have like 1,000 elephants killed in this month or whatever. Like,
We're just casually destroying elephants.
with artillery. And then,
Oh.
of course, the harrowing experiences of the helicopter pilots. It's like why they couldn't get air support or supplies is you're flying around foggy mountains. And then when the skies are clear, the helicopters are continuously being shot by AK-47s.
Or they got to make sure, like,
The horror stories about carrying decomposing bodies across jungles. Because, you know, they're like out there for weeks with a rotting body because, you know, they're not going to leave their guy's body behind. So people have to carry that. And then everyone has, you know, waterlogged feet and hands.
leeches and diarrhea.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked how the one guy had to shit so bad. It was in the middle of combat. He's like, do I shit and die or do I stay in this hole and shit in my pants? What do I do? Kind of compromises and half pulls his pants down and has to shoot someone while he's having diarrhea.
You know, fun times.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And then they're and another reason these guys are so fucked up, because I remember reading about this, and some other thing I read is they're taking anti-malarials constantly,
yeah.
and they're taking like the heavy-duty military 1960s anti-malarials. You know the kind of nightmares you have with that stuff, because it's like the cure is almost worse than the disease, and yeah, and they're running through jungles 20 miles a day, and it's like, oh, these people must just be at the edge of. But then you find out like they're 20 or 19.
Or they I think there's like one where like Bravo meets up with Charlie Company, and Charlie Company hasn't been fed for like 2 days, and they give them half their rations, and then like they're humping around for like another like 2 weeks, and when they get back to the base, the base commander is wondering why like they're all like
Skin and bones.
yeah, skin and bones, and
You guys
like,
look
barely-
like shit. It's like, yeah.
yeah, they haven't eaten for 3 days because the other company hadn't eaten for 5 days.
Because the assholes stopped water supply and then got bullshit under promoted to something else instead of actually reprimanded. And
You want apple cores and orange peels in all the garbage cans, so you know that all the guys ate fruit, so they can be well nourished. They're all like, "Fuck that shit! Give me a beer. I'm gonna go to sleep."
Yeah, I like the C4 coffee making.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's something I've never seen before or heard of before about Vietnam. Like cooking with C4, which
Yeah.
seems completely irresponsible, but once you learn about it, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine.
well, I mean, yeah, because it was better than the incendiary tabs.
Well, you just like, you see from movies like, oh, C4. If you like light C4 on fire or shoot it with a gun, like it'll explode just like a bomb because it's C4. It's a bomb. It's like that's not how C4 works.
Electricity only.
Well, it's like I also have to have like a pressure cap that explodes at like some ungodly speed or 10,000.
Oh, yeah, high impact.
Yeah, because it's not just electricity. It has to be. It's those what's it called? Those percussion striker things that you have to use those to set off C4. It's not. You can't just set
Oh,
off.
I thought it was just electricity. Okay.
I believe it's a combination, or it's something like that. But
Believe it or not, I've never used plastic
yeah,
in my life. So
I've seen Die Hard. That's all I know.
cram a bunch of detonators in and
Detonator core, yeah, or not core, just detonators. Yeah, you have to use a special detonator to actually get C4 to explode. Because the thing about C4 is that it's stable. That's why it was made in the first place.
Yeah, it's not nitroglycerin.
Yeah.
It's just like, oops, I hit a bomb. Boom. Like,
But also, like, how much is that cup of coffee? Like, how much is that piece of C4? Is this like $100 coffee cup or what?
well, that's the thing. They always pack them down with as much munitions as they can carry.
Yeah.
So technically, C4 is probably one of the most plentiful things they have in the.
because wasn't Hawk the one who was always making coffee like that? And he
Yeah,
would always hand it to someone. It's like it cures all the problems. Just drink it, it was always his thing.
What did you imagine the Hawk power sign was?
Couple talons like an eagle, like a hawk.
Okay.
That's what I imagined.
Otherwise, him going like this, like out of a chopper, like almost makes no sense. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was imagining just like the Too Sweet sign from Wesley. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of 60s culture mixed in, so it could be a lot of things, but I just thought it was like someone like an eagle with its talons.
Yeah. Because it's always mentioned like Hawk gives the Hawk power sign and dances away or whatever.
Yeah, this guy is like this South Boston guy. But yeah, no, this was a really readable, interesting book. Learned a lot that I didn't know.
I also learned a lot about Melis's relationship in the first part of the book, where apparently the farthest he's been with a woman is keep dry humping and coming in his pants on the outside of her. I'm like, okay, that's nice.
Well, that's one of the contrasts in the book is you read these guys' stories and you realize how young they are.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like just what was I doing at 19? You know, nothing serious. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, if you read something about Ken Marlantes, the thing about him is he joined the reserves, like enlisted, and then like went to college, and then like
He's a Rhodes Scholar.
And then actually served his time after college instead of.
well, it's like through, and then like because like at a reserve unit, like because you can go to college, you can go to officer candidate school like early,
Yeah.
like before you graduate, so you can like be ready on the go, to just like go to be an officer. Because just because you go through officer candidate school doesn't mean you'll be offered an officer position.
Oh, okay.
So they have a lot of people just like on standby, and then you get commissioned as an officer wherever. Because like you can be both commissioned as an officer in the Navy or the Marines. It's you don't necessarily get a choice. You just kind of.
Well, I
go
know because
through.
they keep alluding to it in the book where it's like, well, you could have just used your connections to not come here or be stationed
Yeah.
somewhere different instead of.
Well, I mean, he technically was before he, but they had the whole thing about like, no, all officers need to have combat experience. But yeah, he went to Princeton, so everybody was. Because I was like, the big argument that Melis and Hawk have is that Hawk's like, the only way he's getting anywhere in life is in the military. He's a lifer, so he's going to be in the military until he retires because he has nothing in the outside world to actually go to. It's like, but like he has a Princeton degree. He's like, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a politician. Like your life's made. Like this is just going to be a bullet point in your resume. Like this means nothing to you.
This is all I have. Don't put me down. Like,
Yeah, that was the arc because they would always make fun of the people that were going to be lifers and
Yeah.
kind of pointing out, it's like, yeah, don't throw that shit around. This is all I have.
It's also a weird thing because like I've seen that before. People make fun of lifers, and it seems like a weird like argument from high school for like people who are like they make fun of you for caring, which is like the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're gonna try on your homework, boo hoo, you fucking pansy. It's like, why are you making fun of me for trying?
well, I like at least that nobody made fun of the canine handler because he's only staying there to help keep his dog.
Yeah,
alive.
yeah. The at least they say in the book that all the canines they train, they don't let them go home, so they have to.
As soon as the handler goes home or dies, and
Yeah, they put the dog down. So this guy like fucking stayed in the Marine Corps in the shit just for this dog.
Weird the connections people form.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the guy is. I mean, I don't know if everybody would pull off that sacrifice, but I mean, the guy is right though. I mean, it sucks that the dog does its job and gives harm away all the time, and then it's like, oh, the guy went home, kill that dog. Like,
I think they did that up until like, I think that was still policy up until like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Because it's only recently they started letting the guys bring them home, and that's. If I'll tell you what, if my neighbor did something like that, I don't know if I'd be exactly enthused. It's like, what did that dog do before? Oh, okay. Want me to help you build a fence?
And there's the ultimate shitbag. What's his name? It's like Pirelli or something like that.
oh yeah, hot super, fucking.
Short round.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Where he like his father was in Korea. I believe he died there. I think.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be just like his dad, but he sucked at being a Marine. And at some point, he like starts shooting up the base with an AK-47.
Yeah.
And then like Mel's like, "What the fuck are you doing, Marine?" It's like, "Just being a shitbag, sir."
I almost feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's terrible what he's doing, but
And then almost immediately after, like he gets put out in the shit. with them, and then immediately just shot in the head. And there's that one guy who has headaches, and they like held a gun, empty gun, on a doctor, and like they locked him up in a Connex box.
After
Yeah.
beating the shit out of him.
That's why Cassidy had to get transferred, because all the black guys were like just lining up, like, okay, when are we gonna kill him?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you need to get him out of here. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was a good book. It's not happy. So
Yeah, this is one of the books on the Commandant Professional Reading list, and probably out of all the books I left, this is probably the best one I read. But
yeah,
some of the other ones are more like technical and historical. This one's like more, personal and like quasi historical.
well, he has a. This is the best insight I've seen into like military leadership structure that I can actually understand, from like a squad level all the way up to like a theater operations. Like, it actually does break it down. It's because a lot of times you see and hear these stories, and it's like, why did this happen? Why did this go this way? It's like, looking at it in hindsight from the outside, it seems like very obvious that this was ill-conceived and nuts, like real things that happen. And then you read something like this, and it's like, oh no, it all makes sense until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Until you get away from it a little bit, and you're like, well, this is fucking crazy. We're just wasting time and lives for nothing. And this shows exactly, this breaks it down very succinctly why, bad metrics, bad ideas, and because no one wants to lose in this whole book. Like, everyone wants to be the best thing they can be and carry this war to victory, and they have different motivations for doing it, and a lot of them are good and sound, but it never, getting from A to B is just impossible because of the situation.
Well, I mean,
It's also why you don't have politicians running wars. That throws a lot of extra, like,
outside motivation into it.
well, when you're like dictating things that operational, it's like, yeah, politicians do run wars. They run the army. That's their job, but not actually run the war. Like, that's where it gets to be a problem. They set up goals. It's like, take the city. Okay, yeah. Try not to get a bunch of people killed, because I can't get reelected if children are being killed. Okay, we'll do that. But then when you try to like direct it, like McNamara did, it gets to be a problem. Because once Nixon becomes president, the whole tone and timbre of the Vietnam War changed radically. It's like, we're not just going to count bodies. We're going to kill as many people as we can, as quickly as possible. We're going to use more, artillery and airborne bombardment that was used during the whole of the Second World War. And we're going to kill a lot of trees. And they even talk about Agent Orange in this.
Yeah, they got dropped on top of him.
Yeah. Why is my skin burning? I'm like, oh shit, that's terrifying.
Luckily, most of the people that got Agent Orange dropped on got killed.
Yeah.
So
They died quickly instead of slowly.
Yeah, it's because somebody fucked up a day when they were going to drop it off, and they dropped it off right on top of them.
Yeah.
Which seems like crazy, because later on they're like intentionally trying to get like planes and helicopters in a certain location, and they just can't because foggy and stuff like that. And yeah, you see the stuff from like the helicopter pilots, like, yeah, if you guys fuck this up, I'm gonna run on a mountain because I can't see 100 feet in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually gained a lot of respect for the helicopter pilots too, that were willing to, like, we can try this, but we're probably gonna die.
Well, they give like also like you see them and they're just like sitting on a bar like waiting for like getting orders to go, and it kind of portrays them like as kind of lazy at some point. It's like, my guys are dying up there. Like, what are you gonna do about it? It's like, we're all gonna die. Like, I can tell you exactly how I'm going to die, and this is why I'm not out there dying.
Yeah. I can go die with them flying into a mountain 300 miles an hour.
So yeah, because Hawk goes in there and it pretends to be a captain.
Yeah, I like that whole scenario.
Try to get this guy to fly out there, and then Eventually convinces them to take out there, and they just grab a bunch of guys and see how much ammo they can load on their shoulders, and just like, and then like run them to a fighting hole to give ammo to guys.
Yeah, and water. They like how many canteens did they put on each of those guys?
Like 7 or 8.
I think the total number was like 100. Was 160? Was the total
Yeah.
number they sent out?
Which that's you're very encumbered.
I like how they even talked about Kool-Aid packs. It's like, yeah, we'll just eat the powder raw because it makes our mouth wet and stuff. And it's like, well, okay, I guess I wouldn't think that would be an option, but I
Yeah,
guess-
we were never allowed to actually. So the canteens, it's like, oh, I can just take this Kool-Aid thing and you put it in there and shake it up and it's good. But we're never allowed to do that because it gets really dirty in there because of the sugar
yeah, 'cause
and over
it's just
time.
like decay, yeah.
So yeah, so how you make drinks in the Marine Corps is you pour that shit in your mouth and then you drink the water separately.
But I like all the names of the Kool-Aid though, because
Yeah, with Choo Choo Cherry and it was some singer or something Lemon was the singer. It was like Lenny Lemon or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Which they might have showed up in some of those MREs I gave you because like there'll be like little Kool-Aid packets. It's just like a little tube, but
Yeah.
they aren't called Choo Choo Cherry, but they just show up randomly in those MRE packets, along with fake Gatorade and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had some weird energy drinks in those. It was like, this tastes like Gatorade and metal. It's like, that's an unusual flavor.
yeah, mine didn't have one in there. I'm so disappointed. Can
And
civilians-
Tabasco sauce and everything.
Yeah,
Can civilians still buy MREs?
yeah.
I was saying, I'm pretty sure you can.
It's not. I mean, fuck. If you want out of date M&Ms, you can get those anywhere. But you ain't buy them. I mean, they're not as cheap as you think they are, but yeah, you can get them.
Yeah.
It's just like you just get sick of them after a while, and then like they're technically supposed to give you food, and after a while I just stopped eating them, and then I just had them, and I distributed them to you guys.
Well,
Here,
no,
have
because
it
the
in
only
your-
reason I asked the other day, or when I was at Walmart on Thanksgiving Day early in the morning, when I was looking around in my half-awake days, I realized that Walmart actually sells prepping material now because there's like a big tub of 48 hours worth of food
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know people would buy this here.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's $20. I mean, I don't know how good a deal that is for 48 hours worth of food.
Really the thing about MREs is that they're compact for what they are. You can shove them in a lot of shit. Because like when we did the BSRE, which is just like this training exercise at Marine Combat Training, and they just gave us like 8 MREs, and we had to make them last for 3 days, which 8 MREs can last you like 2 weeks if you do it right.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much calories. Because that's really what they do is dispense so much calories. And you can like, so we already had full packs. And like, fuck, where am I gonna put all this shit? And you just find ways to fit all that shit on your stuff.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing in the book, by the way. Like, their weird fucking food combinations where it'd be like fucking grape jelly, spaghetti, iced tea drink mix, and other fucking shit just all in the same pot. Like, you're making it wrong. I'm like, yeah, you put grape jelly and iced tea mixed in the spaghetti. What the fuck's going on with this shit? And it's like, I'm assuming it was just because of, hey, it's calorically dense now, and it just
Yeah.
has a lot of fucking crap in there, and it actually tastes interesting enough to get you to eat it, I guess.
But also, you think like MREs are meant to like last forever, but they really don't. They really have like a year shelf life on them. They're not as long as you think they are, and
Yeah.
so it's pretty much just a lot of calories, and they're convenient in their size. They're not the immortal food you think they are.
Yeah, no, the only thing that's like weird about them is what is the amazing achievement? Oh, what they call shelf-stable bread. You can make a piece of bread last 6 months.
Yeah.
That's actually an astounding feat because everything in bread wants to rot.
Oh, isn't that just like leaven bread basically, or like kind of like cracker type bread, or? Is
It's softer than that, but it's kind of a flat bread that they have in there.
Yeah, it's vacuum sealed. Makes it flat.
And yeah, they have those heater things in there that are kind of interesting.
Yeah, those flameless ration heater pouches.
But yeah, we never got to use those. So.
Just pour water in them. Oh, those ones you gave me had those in them.
I don't know. In training, you never get to do that because they show you like this is how it's supposed to work, but you're a Marine, you don't have time to do that shit, so you just eat it cold.
Oh yeah.
And then occasionally sometime you'll have the luxury of time, and you know you have the luxury of time, and they gave you an MRE to eat, and like, fuck it, I'm gonna use this thing. Warm food.
I mean, how often do you really in combat ops like you don't have time to warm your food in any?
Well, that's what they're trained to do for the minimal opportunity. Is like, you know.
You have 2 minutes of not being shot at. Eat something.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know about you, but being shot at doesn't really
stir hunger.
Yeah.
I don't want to masturbate, eat, or sleep.
You know, this whole death thing has really woke up my hunger.
Yeah. My appetite is ravenous after almost dying.
These bullets whizzing over my head at 4 times the speed of sound. Let's get some burritos going.
But yeah, the stuff it seemed like in this, they just had like cans of stuff. So
Yeah, they were probably still using like Type C rations and stuff.
Yeah.
This, it's very different from what they have now. They have stuff now that's like crazy. I mean, like, if you want to go crazy, you can go to like the what's that camping supply store? Oh, REI. It's the high dollar camping store. You can buy stuff that looks like MREs, and they're from Switzerland. And there's like a tab you pull, and the whole thing just heats up. You don't have to do anything. You just the pouch is heated, and then you cut it open, and it's like you can pull it apart like a popcorn, microwave popcorn. And you just pour all the packages. They're still sealed, but you pour them out, and they're nice and hot. And you squeeze them out on a tray. Well, those are like $35 for one.
oh my god, what the fuck?
It's for rich people that want to pretend they're going up Mount Everest or whatever.
I mean, not that technology doesn't have, I'm sure it doesn't cost as much as it is in the price, but, because shit, I remember years ago when they had the first, it was like a jacket that would keep a beverage hot in the fucking jacket at the same time.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know if that ever caught on or something that people actually use, but it's like, oh, that's cool. And then it's like, I don't know if it's that kind of money cool, but it's cool.
Well, REI Camping is the home of the $1,000 sleeping bag.
What does the $1,000 sleeping bag do for you?
Sucks your dick.
Yeah, that too.
So just before you die, you get some pleasure. That didn't keep me warm at all. It did suck
Detecting
my dick.
hypothermia, starting dick sucking.
Blood flows slowing down to his brain. And to get out there and start camping. Let me see what that's.
You know you're gonna die if your sleeping bag starts sucking your dick.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I thought I could make it.
People are gonna think I cried and masturbated right before I died.
It also has external speakers, so it plays porn music or something while you're getting your dick sucked just for the ambiance. It's like, we only found you because of the moaning, sir. Like, oh, thank God for the moaning.
Let's see what this costs.
Or is this gonna be like, Amazon $10,000 audio cables that no one will actually buy?
What? They have fucking $10,000 audio cables?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole subgenre on Amazon. Like,
I mean,
right
I've seen the stuff on there that's
for-
ridiculously priced. I just thought it was third-party sellers marking shit up.
Yeah, it's that. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's these cables. They, because it uses lots of gold in it, but like not that much gold in it. But
Well, because
it's meant to be like, we're doing transmissions in Antarctica. Like you need these audio cables in, fucking New York or some shit.
Well, it's something where it's like,
Oh, prices would come down from $8.99 to $7.83.
ooh, a saving.
Oh, Black Friday sale.
Yeah. It's the Nemo Canon 40 minus 40 degree sleeping bag. Yeah, you essentially could never freeze to death in this, regardless. Just your face would get
I
frostbite.
can make a nice Coleman $80 sleeping bag, a minus 40 sleeping bag. Just,
My Teston negative 40 bag was like $80.
Yeah, well, I'm sure this. What else does this do?
It's
Because it got that mummy head thing or something.
Oh
on it?
yeah, and you can stick
Okay.
your arms out of it to drink and then zip them back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
probably.
mean, it's not worth the money, but it has the features.
Yeah, it's probably worth it if you just don't have anything else to do with money.
Oh shit! Did you guys see Mike Birbiglia's new Netflix special?
Not yet.
Okay, so he explains his sleepwalking thing because I guess he literally jumped out the second-story window of a La Quinta Inn
Yeah.
and like gashed his leg open, and so now he has to be zipped up in a sleeping bag with his arms tied,
Yeah.
doing like all the fucking time. Like,
Didn't you see Sleepwalk with Me?
I forgot that part because
Oh.
he was talking about that with his wife.
That's his whole movie is him about. That's why it's called Sleepwalk with Me.
And so it was like, oh, okay, fuck, I totally forgot about this. And then it was like him talking about his wife doing that for him all the time. Is like, and then now him with his kid and shit like that because he was talking about how he was like didn't want to be a father. And he's like, okay, my first reason, I've had cancer, I've sleepwalked and almost killed myself, and it's like I'm not an attractive man. It's like just all these genetic reasons or whatever. It's like I should not spread my seed. And so it's like, yeah, and it's like when, because he was talking to a doctor about like, hey, you know, what can I do to my kid with this disorder? He's like, well, I've had patients, you know, think they're kicking a field goal and they kick their baby into a wall or whatever. And I was like, it's like, holy fucking shit. And he was like, yeah, I should not be a parent. And then, like, it's like, so I had to sleep with my cat. And my cat like claws my face to wake me up. So that was a good restful 9 months of sleep when his first baby was first born and stuff like that. But he still basically has to sleep because he was joking the whole time. And it's like, my wife told me nothing would change in our relationship. I sleep in a different room now. It's like he literally like brought out this sheet that has like a hole cut in it for his head and like 2 holes for his arms. And there's like, yeah, I tried to have a tailor make more of these. He said I was a psychopath and he wouldn't make more of these. That's the fitted sheet that goes over him onto the bed so he can sleep now and shit. And it's like yeah, nothing in our life is changing at all. Sorry. And it's just when you talk about the sleeping bag, it reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$1,000 sleeping bag.
But that's it. That's all it is just minus 40 proof and a mummy head with some arm holes.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's like fabulous. Probably emits lubricant inside. It doesn't get dry. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what shit like that does.
I mean, does it at least come with a decent AC adapter for the blowjob machine? So, a solar panel. So
now I'm just imagining somebody like, pull starting a blowjob machine.
And now it'd be lithium ion power.
yeah, you need that solar panel out to get the charge for the whole day.
Smooth sucker. 2000. Well, I mean, I bought what's the crazy overpriced? Oh, I got a crazy. Well, I didn't get it overpriced because I bought it on clearance through someplace Stacy found on the internet like 8 years ago. I have a North Face like McMurdo parka, the huge jacket, like looked like what the guys were wearing in The Thing, like those kind of coats.
Yeah.
I've never been cold in Michigan wearing that. Like, it's stupid expensive, or it would have been if I paid full price for it, because full price was like $600, but I paid like $200. But it's actually a down-filled jacket with a fur fleece on top. It's like, yeah, this works.
Is there any aftermarket patches for like the expedition name or whatever for the thing, like the team?
I don't know. I couldn't sew anything on this because of the way it's made, because it's made out of something called high vent, where the material actually, when it gets cold outside, it like sucks shut, and when it gets warmer, it lets it breathe. But I've worn that coat when it was like minus 40 here outside. I put a ski mask on and some long johns. Like, I'm gonna go walk around the yard and see what this thing does. And the coat went from being like the normal kind of smooth stuff. It felt like I was wearing a coat made out of canvas after I was outside. So whatever's going on with that stuff, heating and contracting and expanding, it's like, oh, it really works. But yeah, I could never put a patch on it because I'd be sewing through down and stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've obviously thought about this, so it didn't happen. But then that would lead to the weird conversations that other stuff I've done like that is. Hey, is that the jacket from Aliens? Yeah, of course it is. They don't make clothes like this. Oh, that's cool. 40-minute conversations with weirdos. Like, okay, I'm done wearing my costumes out in public.
I have a petri dish with blood and a warm wire.
That's gonna jump up. I got a dog.
I mean, it's either that or walk around with a flamethrower on your back. Like,
I've kind of always trended towards that anyway.
We have to save the world. How? We need to kill each other.
No, I just had a conversation with the shop yesterday when I was there for Black Friday where somebody was talking about a kid that comes in and like plays whatever hot army thinks in the minute is cool and smells and all this other shit. It was like, yeah, he's just really fucking weird. And I'm like, how many times are we called weird and then we're just making fun of somebody else that's fucking weird? It's just basically a fucking catch.
Oh fuck, we're bullies.
we're
Yeah,
Well, it's not so
but
much
he's
that-
a weirdo.
We're weird bullies.
Well, it's just like, Nathan, you should like. I mean, not everybody's gonna know that that's the Jack from Nostromo and stuff like that. So it's like, it's.
Well, Nathan's actually built the jacket from the Stromo.
No,
Yeah,
I know,
I just didn't put patches on it. I made the whole thing.
but I mean, like, how many people are in a crowd of 100 people are gonna know what that's from? I mean, yeah, that person's just as eclectically weird as you are, as long as they didn't like mouth breathe all over it and like.
Well, I don't think Nathan's actually worried, but it's funny the image of him being ashamed of the thing he bought because somebody spotted it from a movie.
I might have to talk. Well, no, it's not ashamed of it. It's like I don't want to have a 45-minute conversation about it. How'd you do that? A sewing machine, an ironing board. That's how I did it. Lots of pictures. Where'd you learn to sew? Taught myself. Actually, the machine does most of the sewing.
No, I mean, I get that you don't want to like be caught for an hour talking about it, but I mean, it's at least a 5 or 10 minute conversation just like talking about how cool it is and like
Yeah.
obviously like, hey, it's really nice you put the effort into it and you appreciated it for what it was.
Oh yeah, people liked it, but it just got to be, or people didn't understand it. Like, what's that for? It's like it's from a movie. Which one? Alien. Oh, it's the one where they, I just get weird questions.
I was like, I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm the sole survivor of Nostromo.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, and Ripley.
Well,
was
actually,
the
it's the captain
grand-
jacket, right? He died, right?
Yeah, that was Captain Dallas's jacket. Oh, there's some people that go. Oh, what was the people that want to remake the computer, like into a computer workstation?
Oh.
It's people that did that.
That'd be a lot of annoying blinking lights.
Yeah, it's like, it only works in a movie set. It's cool. But... Well, hey guys, it's been 2.5 hours, so
All right.
sorry.
I think we're gonna have to wrap it up. We'll get to some Death Stranding next week.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to be up in 4 hours anyway. Whee!
All right. Well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast is Nathan.
This is Colin.
Andrew?
Goodbye, America.